Chapter 1550. Han Dong's guess was right. The reason why he didn't meet any employees along the way was that the channel from Game Room on a boss office was temporarily created. The reason was simple, but when Han Dong turned around, he found that the channel behind him was disintegrating at the molecular and atomic level. The disintegration speed was equal to Han Dong's speed. What was certain was that the technology mastered by the Ladybug organization was probably more advanced than the matrix he encountered during the London Game Festival. It's not just metal. Even the corresponding molecules of this 100% transparent glass-like material can be freely controlled to carry out precise and rapid sequencing and material construction. This technology is similar to Mr. M's method. It can achieve ultra-fast material, scenes, and even world structure. Thinking of this, Han Dong quickly asked the designer next to him, "Excuse me, the game scene of The Day of the Ladybug is not virtual, but real? We use the consciousness transmission of the bathtub liquid not to connect to the game network, but to transmit the consciousness to an ordinary person's body to play the game in a real scene?" "Yes. However, the body that your consciousness enters is not an ordinary person. It's a consciousness receptor that we specially developed. Its physique is equivalent to that of an ordinary person and is specially used for Ladybug games. The consciousness receptor has a high compatibility and restriction of foreign consciousness to ensure that the consciousness receiver can't rely on his own consciousness to wake up from the game to ensure the stability of the game. Then, is the purpose of this game to test the stability of the relevant world or to develop a new upgrade system?" Han Dong's question stunned the designer. Obviously, this question touched on a very deep level. Moreover, it was difficult for ordinary visitors to ask such a question. "I have no right to answer this question." Okay, even if the designer didn't answer, Han Dong could vaguely guess some clues. The fundamental purpose of this company's game design must be closely related to the world. I'll find a chance to ask the so-called boss later. The end of the temporary channel corresponded to a sealed metal wall. As the designer put his palm on the wall, the metal atoms in the wall immediately rearranged in an orderly manner. With the palm as the center, a dark gold secret door with the company's logo was formed. "The boss is waiting for you inside. I'll wait outside the door." Okay, pushing the door open, the scene in front of him was completely different from the expected office. The interior was actually a private library that was divided into upper and lower floors. A middle-aged man with thick blonde hair, a square face and sideburns, a vertical suit, and a golden ladybug on his chest was reading a book related to design on the second floor. Han Dong stared at this person, but he was unable to determine his exact level. However, based on the fact that the designer was a mythical entity, this boss was most likely at the king tier. The boss on the second floor was the first to speak. "You're quite different from the fiends in my impression, but your performance is quite surprising. Day of the Ladybug has been in beta for 1,081 days. You are the traveler of destiny, with the highest potential we have seen so far. Not only that, but there were also a few other hybrid demons from S01 who performed amazingly in the game, including the crazy young man you worked with to deal with the designer, and a guy called Pop Minda. However, considering that you're also an official employee of Black Tower and a member of the Fight Club, I have decided to meet you in private. There's a very important matter that requires your assistance. Naturally, the company won't treat you badly. We can give you some special privileges as long as it doesn't violate the fairness of the game." "What is it? Can you tell me about it first?" The boss on the second floor temporarily put down his book and walked down the stairs with his hands behind his back. Currently, the game Day of the Ladybug is still in the beta stage. Due to the fact that one of the very important parameters has yet to be determined, it has even exceeded the project's scheduled construction period. I hope that you can be our measuring stick to help us determine it. What parameters? Upper limit. We want to know what the upper limit of the Ladybug game is. Simply put, it is to do the most difficult challenge as long as it complies with the rules of the game. It's similar to what you did in the event against the GM. We hope that you can use all your potential and try to reach the game's limit to see if it will cause the game to collapse. If your actions cause serious problems in Day of the Ladybug, We will give you additional rewards after the event. Oh, I'm willing to try that. However, the risk can't be ignored. Previously, when I fought against the designer, if I continued, I might have really been killed. Therefore, I have a condition that I hope you can agree to. As long as it doesn't affect the game's balance, I will try my best to fulfill it. I don't need anything. I just want to know some information. Information about your company or world, the fundamental reason why you developed Day of the Ladybug. I'm willing to sign a confidentiality agreement on the soul level. Han Dong's words also made the boss frown. Why do you want to know this? I don't think that the questions you asked will help you at all. The content of the information touches on our company's top secret and is even closely related to the Black Tower. Although I can tell you, you must have a valid reason. I have a medium world node under my name and shares in 3 large worlds. One of the large worlds belongs to this special class. According to my speculation, your company should be testing the stability of the world or trying to develop some kind of upgrade system. If I can know, it might be helpful for my own world management. Wait a moment. The boss closed his eyes as if he was verifying the authenticity of Han Dong's words. I didn't expect an official employee to have so many world assets under his name. It seems that we really chose the right person. All right, we'll agree to your request. However, my answer won't be too in-depth. I'll only briefly explain the nature of our company and the basic structure of the world, as well as the general use of Day of the Ladybug. Sure. Ladybug Foundation, Chief Supervisor of Games, Mars Preston. I'm very happy to work with you. You need to sign this confidentiality agreement now. An agreement involving souls appeared in front of Han Dong. After confirming that there was no mistake, Han Dong signed it decisively. Let's answer your first question first. In fact, you've already seen the true world on the way from the game room to my place. The panoramic design of the passage should allow you to see it clearly, right? With this reminder, Han Dong quickly reacted. Huh, could it be that the company is the world? That's right. Our world is very small. The world is formed on the basis of the company. In our world, the two are the same concept. The reason why Han Dong could quickly guess was because Dry Town was similar. Dry Town, which was labeled as a large world, was labeled as a small world. However, the world was still a small town. There was no problem with the size of the land. Director Mars continued, "Don't worry. Before you came here, you should already know that we are not restricted by the Black Tower's world ascension and belong to a special world. In fact, our connection with the Black Tower is far closer than other worlds. Our company has been recognized by the Black Tower's higher-ups and has signed a cooperation agreement. We belong to the Black Tower's special department, the World Design Department. Day of the Ladybug is a large-scale project assigned to us by the Black Tower. As for its use, I can only tell you that it is related to the primitive world. If you can help us determine the upper limit of this game, the game can be officially used. The Black Tower is at a critical juncture where it is in urgent need of manpower. Once it succeeds, it will greatly increase the talent selection rate of the primitive world." While Han Dong was surprised, he also noticed a key point and hurriedly asked, "Urgent need of manpower. The Black Tower maintains contact with thousands of worlds. How can it be lacking in manpower? As an employee of the Black Tower, you should be able to inquire about this internally. I don't know much, only about the shelter." The so-called shelter was a prison building used to imprison rampagers like Clown Pennywise. Chapter 1551. Why would the Black Tower shelter be in need of manpower? When a matter here is over, once I return to the Black Tower, I have to ask Mr. M if I have the chance, or maybe someone like the Headless Brother might know something. Han Dong couldn't understand how a super organization like the Black Tower, which was a hub that connected thousands of worlds, could be short of manpower. But after thinking about it carefully, he thought of a possibility. Could it be that the Black Tower or the Black Tower shelter had a defect long existed or even always existed, and this defect needed to be filled with talents? And this flaw has expanded in recent times? The demand for talents has also increased. There are still too many unknowns, so Han Dong could only put them aside for the time being. Moreover, even if there was a problem, it was not something that Han Dong, who was in the open period, could interfere with. In any case, he had a first touch on the mythical level. Last two questions, Director Mars. If we die in a ladybug game, will the real body also die? That's right. The consciousness receptor is under the absolute control of our company, and the participant's consciousness will be completely bound. According to the requirements of the Black Tower, once the corresponding individual character dies in the game, the consciousness is not allowed to be retrieved, and it will dissipate together. Even Mr. Nicholas, who is working with us, can't jump out of the rules. This is not only our game test, but also a Destiny event arranged by the Black Tower. In addition to you, teams from 2 other superworlds are also involved. The Black Tower supervisors are also constantly observing the situation in the game. Therefore, there is no exception. Well, the second question. The Destiny treasure map, corresponding to the final treasure, is also hidden in the game, right? Yes. This is the main responsibility of the Black Tower, the hiding, arrangement, and design of the final treasure chest. In addition to our company, the Black Tower sent professionals to jointly design it. I can't disclose more, but I hope Mr. Nicholas can win this prize. The conversation ended. After figuring out the nature of the company, the world, and the game, and establishing cooperation matters, Han Dong could do whatever he wanted in the day of the Ladybug. The Black Miasma designer was still waiting outside the door, leading Han Dong back to the game room. The 1-hour conversation was delayed. According to Han Dong's real-time points in the game, he will be compensated with 20 Ladybug points. Less than a minute after Han Dong left the company. Tick, tick, tick at the top of Director Mars' library office. Drops of white liquid continuously seeped out, finally converging into a man in a white suit wearing a whirlpool mask. The person who came was Mr. M, the symbol of the highest will. My lord, we've already reached a partnership with Nicholas for the upper limit test, as per your request. After the game ends, including Nicholas, all the hybrid demons from S01 will be uploaded to you, including the detailed performance, comprehensive data, and video of the entire process. Judging from their performance during the adaptation period, they were truly top-notch talents. Of course, the teams from the other 2 superworlds also performed amazingly. After that, I will sort out a detailed comparison chart between the teams and individuals and give it to you, sir. M glanced at the confidentiality agreement signed by Han Dong and nodded. Well, you did a good job. That's what I should do. The Ladybug Foundation can develop to this point because of your support, sir. It just so happens that I have nothing to do here. Since the adaptation period is about to end, let me experience the game as an administrator. If necessary, I may serve as a temporary NPC. Okay, I'll arrange it for you, sir. When Han Dong woke up again in the Ladybug store, Green and Sally had gone to participate in the nearby game, trying to earn more points. Han Dong calculated the points he had at present. It seemed to be just enough to unlock the remaining abilities. With the large number of points provided by this special event, we can just unlock all the game restrictions. I think the progress of the other participants should not be much different. With the removal of the ability, if the difficulty of the game can't be increased, it will evolve into a grinding game. It is estimated that soon, the rhythm of the whole game will have a corresponding change, such as the full difficulty increase, or the opening of new areas, and so on. Let's remove the remaining ability restrictions first. Sitting on the iron chair in the store, he first consumed 100 points earned from the event to unlock the last 2 stages of the ability, Prison Brain. Stage 3, Void Laboratory Unlocked Effect, allows individuals to perform contact teleportation by means of tentacles. Cooldown time, 30s energy consumption. Each teleportation will consume a fixed 10% of the total energy value. Please use carefully. Stage 4, Mad Laughter's related characteristics have been unlocked effect. The specific effect is unknown. In addition, Han Dong also used the compensation of 20 points to unlock the last ability, Toad, Demon's Foot. While the movement speed increased, it also increased the efficiency of the void teleportation. With all the abilities unlocked, Han Dong received a different system prompt. Warren Nicholas, Slayer of the Year, congratulations. You have achieved full ability unlocking and successfully passed the game's adaptation period. The relevant assassin code name has been generated. You will be restricted to entering the game scenes of low difficulty. In the 5 major districts, the number of Ladybug points obtained will be reduced to 40%. Special events are not affected. Killing other assassin players in the adaptation period will not drop any points or equipment, except for legitimate defense. The relevant privileges have been unlocked. 1. Please collect the assassin badge from the shop owner. This will be an important proof of your identity in the future game. At the same time, you'll also receive a city map. 2. The central area of Day of the Ladybug, Limitless City, has been fully open to you. The Limitless City will not be restricted by the usual restrictions of the game. You will be able to obtain a large number of points, rare equipment, and even special rewards within the city. The Ladybug Shop is also a consumption and safety zone that is distributed within the Limitless City. The details will be obtained at the entrance of the Limitless City when you go there. As expected, it's meaningless for us to stay here and farm points. The reason why some of the abilities of individuals are locked in the early stages of the game and require enough points to unlock them is to allow the participants to adapt to the body of an ordinary person and the rhythm and rules of the game. Unlocking all the abilities also means the end of the adaptation period. The real content and risks of this game have just begun. The final winner of this game and the ownership of the final treasure chest will need to go to the newly unlocked Limitless City. He returned to the shop counter. Han Dong received this assassin badge that was custom-made for him. It was made of strong white metal and was about the size of 2 fingernails. It was half skeleton and half zombie. Han Dong's name was printed on the back, as well as the assassin title White Reaper, based on his performance during the adaptation period. The shop owner explained, "When going to the Limitless City, please wear the badge. Entering the relevant areas and shops in the Limitless City requires the badge to be verified. Please keep the map and choose a suitable entrance to the Limitless City. Special reminder, your income in the normal city has been greatly reduced. Staying in the outer area will not benefit you at all. The income you can obtain in the Limitless City is far beyond your imagination." Okay, Han Dong received the detailed map of the game area. Just as he had imagined, the 5 districts of the Ladybug City were in the shape of a ring. The newly unlocked Limitless City was in the center. The earlier one went there, the greater the advantage. Chapter 1552. Han Dong, who had received the assassin badge, sat in the shop's resting area for less than 10 minutes before he heard familiar footsteps. Green and Sally had finished the game within an hour. In addition to selling the equipment and items they obtained during the game, they earned an additional 100 points. Adding on the huge amount of points they obtained from the special event, it was enough to unlock the remaining abilities. As soon as the two stepped into the shop, they immediately smelled Han Dong's scent. Sally immediately leaned over with an aggrieved look in her eyes. The dark desire leather clothes on Sally's body had already become tattered, and there were many large scars on her body. There was even a cut across her abdomen. It was only with the help of the black goat's constitution, tentacles, and healing potions that she was barely able to recover. Han Dong could roughly guess the friendship and cooperation between the two. After all, in Green's eyes, there was no such thing as tender feelings. In order to quickly win, in addition to his crazy personality, Green would ask Sally to directly charge into many situations where he shouldn't have. Of course, Sally was only sticking close to Han Dong. This degree of injury was completely acceptable to her. When Green saw Han Dong in the shop, he promptly showed off his hand and foot magic equipment. "Nicholas, this equipment is really good. Since Miss Lyle and I have known each other for a long time, and we grew up together, it led me to not have much contact with other types of weapons. This kind of hand and foot magic equipment brings a direct attack feeling, completely different from Miss Lyle's. There were several long battles that made me unbearably high, and the feeling of a combo was really too cool. Especially when encountering those kind of opponents with large physiques, full of meat, and can even hit multiple combo. Hurry up, let's go find some more difficult events to participate in." "Huh, Nicholas, what are you wearing on your chest? It looks a bit good. I also want one." Green stared at the half-skeleton and half-zombie assassin badge, expressing great interest. You currently have enough ladybug points to unlock the remaining abilities, right? When you finish unlocking them, you can get the corresponding badge. As for where we are going, there will be corresponding hints. There are more fun places? That's right. Once the ability is unlocked, it means that we've passed the adaptation period. We'll head to a more difficult and dangerous game area. There is a high chance that the restriction on killing would be lifted, and the other origin substance, as well as the fate party from the superworld, would meet there. If we can get there in advance, we'll naturally have an advantage. Hearing such an interesting story, Green turned around and walked into the store. While walking, Grimm's palm moved slightly. The semi-living equipment attached to his hands and feet immediately gathered in his palm and returned to the original state of the box of resentment. A slender, chaotic tentacle was used as a rope and hung in front of his chest. From this, it could be seen that Grimm's mastery of the box had reached perfection. Sally, you should go too. Try to get a suitable bloodline and equipment for you in Limitless City. All right, both of them enter the Ladybug game as mythical entities. They had one more territory than Han Dong, and they needed to spend 200 points to remove the restriction. Of course, the strength of the territory was also limited to match the game. When Grimm heard the news about the Limitless City, he could even hear the sound of his bones rubbing against each other and his organs being squeezed. He was extremely excited. Both of them also received the Assassin emblem, respectively. Christopher J. Grimm, Mad Devil. Coincidentally, the Assassin title given to Grimm by the system was the same as in reality. The emblem was also very considerately polished into a crazy face with messy hair and drilled pupils. Sally Love, Black Sheep. The emblem was made into a delicate girl's head with the iconic goat horn. As soon as Grimm came out, he pushed Han Dong and ran toward the nearest entrance of the Limitless City. Let's go, and try to accumulate some time advantage. Maybe there will be other teams that will pass the adaptation period faster than us. Seeing that both of them had reached an agreement, Sally did not dare to say anything and quickly follow behind them. She looked for an opportunity to whisper into Han Dong's ear. Speaking of which, don't we need to find Hope and Kit first before going to the Limitless City? If we search in the outer circle, the search area will be huge. If they're in a game, they might miss it and waste a lot of time. With their level, they can definitely go to the Limitless City smoothly. It will be more efficient to meet them directly inside. Let's trust them. Kit promised me before that he would treat this matter seriously. Okay, everyone left the alley where the shop was and walked onto the street. The scene in front of them stopped their hurried footsteps immediately. Why didn't I see it before, or is it only shown after passing the adaptation period? In the direction of the Limitless City, there was a black wall that rose to the sky, cutting off the connection between the outside world and the Limitless City. If such a wall existed from the beginning, it would have been impossible for them to not notice it. The closer they got, the fewer facilities there were in the Ladybug game. According to the map knowledge, they came to the nearest entrance. Facing the black wall of such a scale, they were shocked. It also meant that once they entered, they would not be able to leave through abnormal means. The structure of the Limitless City and the dangers they would encounter in it were absolutely unknown. A guard wearing a black gold mask stood at the entrance. The aura he emitted was similar to the designer of special events. It seemed that he was also an administrator. Once you enter the Limitless City, there is no way out. You must persevere until the end of the game. In addition, before you officially step into the Limitless City, you can enjoy free food supplies and temporary rest in the Black Wall. You can also learn about the detailed rules of the Limitless City. If you are ready, you can enter from here. At the same time, on a street 2 cities away, a team of 4 people was also heading to the Limitless City's entrance. It was the team with Demps as the guide and Bop as the captain. The powerful High Darius and Miss Helen with unknown characteristics were also in the team. Demps adjusted the monolithic bronze mirror and stared at the black wall in the distance as he said, "Our progress is very fast. Our progress should be one of the best." The only team that might be faster than us should be the team led by Nicholas. Bop replied softly. Do you have such a high opinion of him? This is the destiny space. It is the domain he is best at. We can only assume that he is faster than us. It is indeed necessary to make such an assumption and look forward to meeting them in advance. However, something unexpected happened. Just as Dimps, Bop, and the others were one street away from the Black Wall, they discovered that a mysterious team was talking to the guard at the entrance. Bop was somewhat surprised. There's actually a team in front of us? This should be a fate traveler from another world, right? This group of people is very strange. Let them enter first. Dimps could vaguely sense a hint of threat from the appearance of this group of people. The team standing at the entrance was completely different from the other killers. They didn't wear cloaks or long clothes that covered their bodies, nor did they use masks to cover their faces. All of them were wearing simple clothes from the ancient Greek era. Parts of their bodies, appearances, and weapons were exposed. It was as if they were extremely confident in their strength and didn't bother to hide it. Chapter 1553. The map given by the shop owner only recorded the location of the entrance to the Limitless City. The parts related to the Limitless City were completely dark. When they reached the entrance, the map became worthless. Obviously, they had to explore the Limitless City on their own. Since the game manager at the entrance had clearly informed them that they could enjoy free food and rest within the Black Wall, they had no choice. Han Dong did not care about anything else and stepped into the entrance passage with his companions. Let's go inside and take a look. The passage was about 10 meters deep, and at the end of it was a complicated elevator. Some kind of detection equipment identified the assassin badges worn by the three of them. Rumble. Multiple gears and a powerful motor started to operate, and it carried everyone up the Black Wall at an extremely fast speed. In less than 20 seconds, they had reached a height of 1,000 meters. When the elevator stopped, what appeared in front of them was not the resting room that they had expected. It was a ring-shaped city within the wall that was built within the Black Wall. There were railway tracks around the city, neon lights, steel buildings, and residents who were more or less equipped with mechanical prosthetics. It was as if they had stepped into the Night City. I thought that there was only a temporary resting area within the Black Wall. They actually built a ring-shaped city within the wall? Is it a comprehensive shelter? At this moment, a mechanical geisha that was floating in the air slowly landed in front of everyone. The mechanical chin moved down with the rotation of gears, revealing a copper pipe-like sounding device. Welcome to the outer wall of Calmus. This is the only resting place in the Limitless City, and it is also an important area that you have to travel to and from. I am your temporary guide, and I will bring you to familiarize you with the different areas of Calmus. I will also tell you the basic rules of living here, and some things about the Limitless City. The guide will take 2 to 3 hours. Please follow me patiently. Follow her, Grim. Han Dong subconsciously wanted to remind Grim, as he was worried that Grim would deliberately cause trouble. Unexpectedly, the arm that was full of small holes placed directly on Han Dong's shoulder, and, at the same time, pushed Sally to the side. Don't worry, this is my first time participating in Fate's journey. The things that have happened so far are very interesting, and I will take the initiative to cherish such an opportunity. Besides, after knowing you for a while, my understanding and control of madness is much better than before. Before I figure out if I can freely kill, I won't act rashly. I found that if I occasionally brew up a bit of madness before going all out, the degree of comfort will increase exponentially. All right. City in the Wall, Calmus. The first city in the wall was rumored to have been created by a powerhouse called Calmus. He was also the first to find the truth in the Limitless City and ascended. Calmus was divided into 4 major regions. 1. The residential area is also the largest area in Calmus. It provides residents with private accommodation, 3 meals a day, and basic services. Of course, in order to become a resident here, one must contribute to Calmus. As newcomers, you have temporary residential rights for 24 hours. The time I'm in charge of guiding, you will not be included. 2. Store area. The Ladybug store is much larger than the outside. The items and props sold are much more advanced. At the same time, it allows residents to trade freely. 3. Granary. It is important to note that this is not an area for residents to store food, but a special area used to imprison the incompetent and criminals. 4. Main hall. The centralization of power of Calmus. At this time tomorrow, you need to go here and prepare to go to the limitless city. In addition, Calmus has only one ring road connecting the above 4 areas. The ring railway will provide free transportation for residents 24 hours a day. Except for the granary, you can go to other areas. After that, the mechanical geisha also led Han Dong and others to board a train that happened to stop there. The residents in the wall sat scattered in the carriage. From their eyes and the various equipment they carried, they should be killers from the outside world. The mechanical geisha continued to introduce. The residents in the wall are the same as you. They are qualified killers from the Ladybug City. Because most of them are not strong enough, they can't obtain the qualification to ascend in the limitless city. They are trapped here for many years. The problem they think about every day has slowly changed from the initial exploring the limitless city to how to safely obtain the resident rights. Obviously, it was not easy to stay in the city in the wall Calmus. Han Dong estimated that he needed to go to the limitless city to meet certain conditions to earn the corresponding resident days. Let me tell you more about the rules of Calmus. It is the same as the Ladybug City. Once you kill people here, you will accumulate killing points. Killing others will only drop a few points and items. In special occasions, there will be a reminder that killing is prohibited. Those who violate the rules will be executed by the Ladybug Killer on the spot or locked in the granary. However, there are no restrictions in the Limitless City. After all, no one can monitor what happens in the Limitless City. In addition, residents who use up their resident time will be regarded as incompetent. If they stay in Calmus, they will also be locked in the granary to realize their final value. At this point, the speeding train happened to enter the granary area. Suddenly, a black curtain covered the window of the train, and the situation in the granary area was prohibited. "Excuse me, how can I get resident time or a high reward?" The existence of the black wall and the establishment of the city in the wall are to ensure the stability of the limitless city. The most basic job of the assassins here is to hunt the residents of the limitless city, the Jotun. If you want to live here, the minimum requirement is to kill a Jotun every week. Regardless of the species, rarity, age, and other attributes, you will get a resident status for a week. In addition, you can accept missions in the main hall. Once completed, you will get a high reward, much higher than the Ladybug game you have experienced before. Jotun. The first thing that came to Han Dong's mind was the 7th essence, the competitive Jotun. Jotun had unlimited characteristics, and Jotun's maximum size could reach up to a few hundred meters. Jotun is the name we use for the residents of the limitless city. It is not limited to huge humanoid creatures. These residents of the limitless city have a unique form. They have unique characteristics, as well as extremely lethal abilities. When you embark on the journey to the limitless city, you will naturally know the true horror of this kind of existence. While danger and terror coexist, the Jotun is also related to the rumored secret treasure. At the same time, the ascension that all the assassins are searching for is also closely related to them. Chapter 1554. As the train circled around the city in the wall, Calmus, the tour guide's introduction came to an end. The one-day temporary residency had begun. Han Dong and the other two were assigned to a 2-bedroom apartment with a decent environment. There was a public cafeteria in the residential building, and food was provided in unlimited quantities without any wastage. As they headed to the cafeteria, they could feel the stares of the other residents, especially when they saw the box of resentment on Grimm's chest. Such equipment was rare, even in the limitless city. Although killing people would accumulate killing points, there was no rule against robbing. Even so, Grimm purposely maintained his image of showing off his wealth. completely ignoring the stairs. He hoped to attract a group of people who were not afraid of death, so that he could kill them all in the name of legitimate self-defense, satisfying his desire and earning a tip at the same time. At the dining table, there were a few live quails and a few feathered eggs on Sally's plate. The quails were like dumplings, one at a time, without spitting out any feathers. As for the feathered eggs, Sally cracked them all into a bowl, stirred them, and poured them directly into her mouth, making a look of satisfaction. Grim asked for the head of a black bear that had just been cut off. Ignoring the blood that was still flowing, he tore off the head together with the fur and skull, so much so that when he was sucking on the brain, he made a loud noise covering the ground. Such a scene of eating even made the two residents, who had weak willpower, vomit on the spot. The evil thoughts that had formed in their hearts were also eliminated by half. Han Dong was used to such a scene, gathering the information in his hands while eating. Giants, treasures, and ascension, are these the official theme of the Ladybug game? According to the tour guide's introduction, the next arrangement was nothing more than to use the city in the wall as a base to gradually investigate the limitless city. During this period, they would need to return many times, and when they had enough rewards, fully armed, and grasped enough information, they would then go to the core area of the limitless city to look for an opportunity to ascend. However, there was still too much unknown information. After we rest, we will go to the main hall and officially enter the limitless city to find out the necessary details. Besides, with such a centralized structure of the city, when Hope and Kit arrive, it should be easy to find them. Even though the newcomers were given a free day to rest, they were not allowed to stay here for long. However, Han Dong did not intend to use it up. After resting enough, he took the round-the-city train to the main hall. In Han Dong's opinion, being able to explore the limitless city a second earlier was building an advantage. After all, their opponents in this game were the combination of Bop and Dimps. There was also Kim Yui and the others from S10 Takamagura, as well as a mysterious team that had yet to reveal themselves. Main Hall, it was the authority management office of the city in the wall Kalmus. It was also the hall where missions were issued. The only passageway that connected to the limitless city was also located here. The area for issuing and accepting missions was located in the Explore Hall on the right side of the main hall area. Many assassins with extraordinary strength were squeezed into the crowd, trying to get a mission that had a difficulty that suited them and had a generous reward. Assassins who have not been certified are not allowed to read or receive official missions. Please head to the counter area to complete the team registration and receive the first exploration mission. Han Dong shrugged. It's probably similar to the Adventure Hall in the Holy City. If I want to receive a team with a corresponding difficulty, I have to reach the corresponding level. I can only take it one step at a time. Han Dong came to the counter. The young lady in charge of receiving them had half of her brain completely transformed into a machine. Her brain was connected to the intranet, and she could identify basic information by scanning the badge. She looked surprised when she saw the badges of Han Dong and the other two. In addition to the names and code names, she could also see a hexagonal numerical panel. The growth rate of the three was this. Amazing. The young lady could not help but exclaim. Are you planning to form a three-person team? Once the team is formed, it will affect your subsequent reward distribution, personal evaluation, and other comprehensive indications. In addition, once the team is reduced, you have to report it immediately. If you want to add more members in the future, is that okay? Yes, the maximum number of members in the team is 6. However, the increase in the number of members in the team will affect your personal evaluation. With your abilities, forming a 3-person team is more appropriate. Then, I will register the team information for you first. The young lady first uploaded the information of the 3 to the intranet, and then imprinted the badge in the form of a wax seal in the record book dedicated to the registration of the team. At the same time, she handed over a freshly printed mission document. This is the requirement for the first exploration. Please take a look. The killer badge worn on your body will record the exploration route. Please be sure to keep it well. It's best to put in your body. If you kill a giant during the exploration, please be sure to drop the heart's blood on the badge while collecting the corpse materials. When you return, you can identify the blood in the badge to determine the number of giants you killed, the type, the rarity, and so on, and give the corresponding reward and evaluation. If you are ready, please go to the number 3 elevator platform in the main hall. The matter of your upcoming first exploration has been conveyed. I hope you can return smoothly. First exploration, difficulty, white, requirements. Go to the Infinite City to explore for 12 hours. Exploration distance must not be less than 50 kilometers, and obtain a body item related to the giants, such as fingernails, hair, or saliva. Reward: certified killer identity, 3 days of resident privileges, 60 ladybug points. The first exploration doesn't even have a mandatory kill requirement. Han Dong did not rush to leave the counter and try to ask the young lady who had a better attitude. "Excuse me, if we kill a stronger giant during the first exploration, will there be additional rewards?" The giant's corpse alone is very valuable. If you can retrieve the heart's blood, your individual and team evaluation will be improved according to the indicators, and you will be rewarded with corresponding points. Later on, you will be able to accept more difficult and more valuable missions. But I still hope you can take it one step at a time. The danger of the Infinite City is far beyond your imagination. Even the weakest giant is difficult to kill. Once caught, death is certain. We will be careful. Just as Han Dong left the counter with satisfaction and got up to go to the number 3 elevator platform, everyone smelled a familiar scent at the same time and quickly turned their heads. Grim walked up directly. "Yo, isn't this Brother Pop? You guys seem to be slower. Let me see how strong your body is in the game. Is it strong enough?" Grim opened his arms and tried to give Pop an affectionate hug. Unfortunately, he only hugged a shadow of the void, of course. Although Pop did not care that Grim was faster, he cared about the box hanging in front of Grim's chest. This was not just an advantage in speed. In a game with absolute level suppression, the improvement brought by equipment was huge. "Dimps, how are you?" Han Dong also greeted him in a friendly manner, and at the same time, he nodded slightly to Miss Helen. Han Dong was also very curious whether Helen's essence would be replicated in the game and how it would be displayed. "I'm okay." "Oh yeah, when we were heading to the Black Wall, we found a team from another world, and their progress was slightly faster than ours. Wearing ancient Greek clothing, there was an inexplicable sense of danger. Remember to be careful." "Okay." Chapter 1555. Ancient Greek clothing? Yes, we'll take note of that. Han Dong did a simple search through his memories, but did not find any matching killer players. Since the other party's progress was faster than the combination of Dimps and Pope, and with the dangerous remarks given by Dimps, they must have powerful abilities that could not be ignored. Speaking of which, we also encountered a team from a super world in a special event. Han Dong shared the detailed information about Shunjie and the others. He emphasized that Higashino should not kill him unless there was no other choice. Pope also listened attentively at the side. He, who had an insatiable thirst for knowledge, naturally had a great interest in strong people from different worlds, especially when he heard about the space-related characteristic of the shrine in the body. The stars in Pope's eyes collided at high speed due to his excitement. Han Dong took this opportunity to make a suggestion. That is to say, there are at least 2 teams from different worlds that are in a competitive relationship with us. Their strength is not bad, and they have rich destiny experience. How about this? Before eliminating the teams from other worlds, we will maintain the sharing of information and carry out appropriate cooperation. Professor Pope, what do you think? Pope did not refuse, but only emphasized the scope of cooperation. Our cooperation is limited to dealing with other teams. If it involves a conflict of interest, there will be no cooperation to speak of. No problem. Han Dong did not say anything else and walked straight to elevator number 3. Pope is also completely enjoying himself. Grim crossed his arms behind his head, the corners of his mouth slightly upturned. Han Dong, however, revealed an embarrassed expression, recalling the scene that flashed through Grim's mind when he tried to hug Pope just now. The difference in the void plane level is indeed not ordinary. Even in the game, Pope can still move freely in the void. I can only perform contact teleportation, and it consumes a lot of energy. Grimm's arm once again came over out of habit. Are you crazy? You're comparing your void with Pope's? Isn't it better to compare something else? Haha, that's true. Seeing the intimate appearance of the two, Sally also tried to insert herself into the conversation. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Helen's situation is a little strange. Grimm nodded. A little. According to the characteristics of the game, Helen's inner should have been copied into the game, but I didn't see this terrible thing just now. However, it doesn't matter. If we face them in the future, just leave it to me. Glenn licked the corner of her mouth with his tongue, as if he was very interested in Helen's nature. In order to reduce the killing between different teams and increase the exploration efficiency of Limitless City. There were a total of 12 elevators in the Great Hall, which corresponded to the different entrances of the Limitless City. The black wall surrounded the Limitless City in a circular shape, and the 12 entrances were arranged according to the time scale. Each lift was limited to only one team. Moreover, teams that took the same elevator would be separated by at least half an hour to ensure that different teams would not meet in the early stages of the exploration. Elevator number 3. The NPC set up by the game system was in charge of the reception and related operations. This corresponds to the third entrance that connects to Limitless City. In addition to the normal ascent and descent, there would also be a circular migration between the black walls. The entire process would take about 7 minutes. When you have fulfilled the mission requirements, you can return by any elevator. Since you're newcomers who have never set foot in Limitless City, it would be best if you could sit down and mark along the way. This would greatly increase your chances of survival. Excuse me, is there no map provided here? Everyone should have explored Limitless City for quite some time. Maybe the situation inside is not clear, but the basic map of the periphery should have been drawn, right? What do you think the purpose of the first exploration is? There is no requirement to kill the giants, which means that you do not need to contribute. The only purpose of the first exploration is to prove that you have the ability to effectively explore and survive in the completely unknown and dangerous Limitless City. This is the basic requirement to kill the giants. Only by proving this point, you are qualified to accept the giant mission. Moreover, the map is not as simple as you think. The dangers of Limitless City are not limited to the giants. At the same time, there is also the variability of this city. Mapping has always been our work of research. Once you have contributed or accumulated enough points, you can obtain maps of different precision through various channels. Good luck. Rumble. The multiple motors were operating at full capacity, and the elevator moved rapidly within the black wall, heading toward the entrance at the 3 o'clock direction. Click. The elevator was in place. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The hydraulic pressure balanced the internal and external pressure. The metal gate, which was 7 meters thick, was slowly rising. A grotesque scene appeared in front of his eyes. Rows of crooked and dilapidated buildings were crowded on both sides of the street in a disorderly manner. Each building was hundreds of meters high. Not only was the structure disorderly, but even the styles between the floors were completely different. It was like a game designer who deliberately stuffed the architectural styles of different eras into the building, randomly ordering and generating it. Some houses were even less than half a meter apart, almost intersecting above the street. It was easy to climb into the house of the neighbor across the street. In addition to the strange design of the buildings, the whole city was integrated into the primitive jungle. The streets were sometimes wide and sometimes narrow, and weeds grew on them. Some of them were even several meters high, seriously obstructing the vision. The surface of the buildings was covered with green algae, or it was covered with colorful mushrooms, which numbered in the hundreds of thousands or even millions. Or there were large tree trunks attached to the buildings, which were even integrated into the buildings. Such a scene could only be seen in some strange and bizarre performance art paintings. The scene in front of him immediately reminded Han Dong of the Nine Dragons Walled City, which was rated as a utopian city without a designer in his previous life. However, the situation here was even more exaggerated. Therefore, the way to explore the infinite city was not limited to moving through the streets. Since the closely arranged buildings could be connected through windows, they could easily pass through the buildings. The form of exploration was equivalent to adding a z-axis to the plane formed by the original xy axis. Of course, the final direction of exploration was the center of the infinite city. It's obviously better to choose to move between the buildings. We can also observe the situation on the streets from a high vantage point. Just as Han Dong was about to turn into the staircase of the building next to him, a series of strange footsteps could be heard from the front. At the intersection of about 200 meters away, a living creature about 3 to 4 times the size of an ordinary person crawled quickly in the shape of a centipede. Although it only crawled for a moment, Han Dong's demon eye accurately captured its characteristics. Its skin, hair, and facial features were almost the same as a human's. However, there were more than 20 flesh appendages on the side of this thing's body, which supported it to crawl quickly. A giant. Chapter 1556. *T. When Han Dong saw the creature that looked like a giant crawling quickly, he knew something was wrong. He was not worried about being discovered by the giant. Instead, he was worried that Grimm would rush forward. Currently, Limitless City's intelligence equals 0. If the target stood still, it would be fine. The giant that crawled by just now was as fast as a small car. It was possible to catch up with it by force, but the danger was unpredictable. Just as Han Dong was thinking about how to persuade Grimm tilted his head and looked at the stairs that were covered with mushrooms and vines. He had no intention of chasing after the giant. Instead, he reminded Han Dong, who was staring at the intersection. "Nicholas, that thing is quite fast and familiar with the structure of the terrain. Its aura is far weaker than the Baldy that we dealt with together. There's no point in chasing after it and killing it. My abyss can sense the potential danger here. I suggest exploring with the Forbidden Area principle." Huh. Han Dong made a subway old man expression and looked at Grimm from head to toe. Before Han Dong could persuade him, he was the one who persuaded himself. However, it was fine as long as the result was the same. By the way, what is the Forbidden Area principle? You've never been to a Forbidden Area? Sally and Grimm asked almost at the same time. I really haven't. After all, I'm a fate system. Most of my adventures and experiences are in the fate space. Although Han Dong did not know what the Forbidden Area principle was, he still had a certain understanding of the concept of a forbidden area. The universe corresponding to the world of S01 was vast and boundless. Even if the old kings controlled the universe in the form of land deeds, there were still uncontrollable dangerous areas, and even unknown areas that had not been fully explored. The formation of these areas was often closely related to the development of the world and even unknown wars. Naturally, there were also accumulated unknown opportunities, treasures, and even mysterious inheritances that had been lost in the long river of history. These areas were personally organized by Pope's teacher, using special methods to pry into the secrets and risks, and divided into different forbidden areas of different scales and difficulties. In the eyes of the Mantis demons, this was a training ground derived from the intertwining of chaos in the world. As long as the Mantis demons in the matured stage and above performed well, they could be selected by their former king and obtain the opportunity to train in the Forbidden Grounds. The originals had naturally experienced many forbidden lands, and the origin game was also held in a large forbidden land. When I was riding the Yandalus Hound, I relied on the principles of the forbidden area to survive. Sally, explain it to me. I'm not very good at explaining these rules and regulations. All right. The principle of the forbidden area was a relatively safe and efficient exploration method. In order to ensure the survival rate, before the selected fiends set foot in the forbidden area, their former king would imprint principles in their minds. Nicholas, give me your tentacles. Their palms were facing each other as their tentacles intertwined. While Sally was conveying the forbidden grounds principle, she also took the opportunity to whisper. Actually, this is an effective way to explore unknown regions. At critical moments, you can suppress your urges, desires, and the influence of the Forbidden Land's whispers. Grimm's behavior was too strange. I reckon that before he went to the Destiny Realm, his father had imprinted a special, forbidden grounds principle in him to suppress his crazy characteristics, especially when faced with dangerous and unknown situations. The effect of the restriction will be reflected. However, during battle, the restrictions brought about by the forbidden grounds principle will be weakened or even eliminated. That's great. Otherwise, it would really become a suicide squad. I was wondering why Grimm didn't chase after him just now. Sally's explanation eliminated most of Han Dong's worries. Let's go. We'll try to explore from the buildings. Everyone turned into a grotesque building at the side. Every step of the staircase was covered with colorful mushrooms of different sizes. Some of the mushrooms were even squirming, spitting out powder of the corresponding color. Han Dong's mask could effectively filter it, and Grimm and Sally also had their own methods to deal with the inhalation of poisonous gas. Vines ran through the walls inside and outside. Some of the vines were only covered with a thin layer of skin, and one could even clearly see the living matter flowing within. Count, why don't I let you out to explore? This Count, is your trump card. It's not good to just let him out to explore, is it? Moreover, the substances emitted by these mushrooms will seriously interfere with the sense of smell, and it's not good for the body to breathe in too much. It's better to stay in your body. When necessary, I can just sniff your arm. Are you afraid of Grimm? It's not a matter of whether I'm afraid or not. I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. This Count is going to start to feel the blood. Don't disturb me. We'll talk again when necessary. Han Dong shrugged. He could only concentrate as much as possible to sense the possible dangers in the stairwell. First, he moved up the vertical coordinates. When he reached the 18th floor, he changed to moving horizontally. Creak. He pushed open the rusty door. The room was mixed with the smell of plants and rancid. Han Dong also found a piece of completely moldy meat wriggling on the table. It would actively stick to the surface of the plants and absorb nutrients. There was more than one piece of meat like this. The life density in the Infinite City is much higher than outside. Perhaps it has something to do with the so-called giants. Han Dong's interest in Limitless City increased by another level after seeing such a high concentration of life forms. The direction of exploration was also confirmed. Following the direction where this centipede giant was crawling, he began his first exploration. Considering that the other party was a resident of the Infinite City and would not move aimlessly, he might be able to find a nest or a gathering place of giants. Closely arranged buildings, lush vegetation, and messy intertwined wires made it easy for the buildings to move freely. This made it very convenient to move between buildings. Most of the time, one only needed to stand on the balcony and jump lightly to enter the building next door. After a period of adaptation, the exploration speed gradually increased. From the initial careful exploration of each room to the fast parkour between buildings. Currently, everything was built on the silent level. The route map along the way was accurately memorized in Han Dong's mind. After about half an hour of exploration, when he stepped into a 4-meter-high duplex bungalow, a burst of battle-like sounds came from downstairs. He stuck his head out of the window and looked down. The giant that was crawling in the shape of a centipede was below, and it was being surrounded by a small team of assassins. Huh? We really caught up with this thing? Our luck is not bad. We can see what's so special about the giant. It was a small team of 4 people that surrounded the giant. One of them even had the rifle qualification and had set up a Barrett on the balcony of the high-rise building, waiting for his teammates' attack instructions. Swords flashed, and there were even magic attacks. Together with the large-caliber armor-piercing bullets, the giant's body was torn apart. The attack effects of various equipment were also activated at the same time, and the light of lightning and burning constantly flashed. After a while, the assassins were panting, and the sniper rubbed his tired eyes. Even though the ground was scattered with broken limbs from the giant, when the dust dissipated, the giant's body was as good as new. There was no trace of injury at all. Han Dong, who was watching the battle, whispered softly, "Ultra-rapid regeneration?" Not only the giant, but even the destroyed streets and houses also have a certain regeneration ability. Once the building is damaged, the nearby plants will immediately fill the gap and repair it quickly. No wonder such a weird building complex can be preserved here for a long time. Chapter 1557. Infinite Outer City on a relatively spacious street. This team was fighting against a giant with centipede characteristics. It belonged to the team that had passed the first exploration and killed the giant. It was officially authorized to enter the city in the wall. It was called the Alpha Team. Other than the snipers who had the rifle authority, Captain Vic was a modified human with a B-class bloodline, the Alpha model. Other than the brain, his entire body had been replaced and transformed. This bloodline could actually exert the same effect as an A-class bloodline through the abandonment of the body. The Alpha system could bring about an adaptive battle and an increase in reflex speed. It could also upgrade its body through various metal materials, and at the same time, it could also accept the characteristics of the materials. Not long ago, it spent a lot of points to exchange for a piece of Zeus cast iron, and used it to replace the material of the right arm. As a result, it obtained the attack's special effect of lightning damage. It could even store lightning chains with its bare hands for long-range attacks. In addition, there was also a teammate in the team who was responsible for close combat. He had a C-class bloodline, lava body. While increasing its defense and strength, it would produce lava every certain period of time. It could be used for spraying and also for polishing weapons to obtain a burning special effect. In addition, this person would obtain additional effects if he wore fire tribute equipment. His equipment was mainly armor with high defense, and he was the team's meat shield. The last teammate was also the team doctor. He was born with an affinity for surgical tools and could achieve surgery on the move and super fast suture. If the overall pressure of the team was not great, he would also cooperate with the team to attack. Captain Vic adjusted the mechanical body's power system while shouting at the sniper on the third-floor balcony. "Winkif, what are you doing?" The joint attack just now tore off almost 30% of the target's body. "Haven't you found the heart yet?" That's right. In addition to being the sniper, Winkif was also the crucial eye of the team. He was responsible for locating the giant's heart. It's strange. We didn't make any mistakes in the attack just now. The conventional hiding places of the heart were all torn open. However, my eyes and the scope couldn't find the heart no matter what. It's just an ordinary subhuman. In theory, it's impossible for it to know how to change the hiding position of the heart. Could it be? Hearing such an answer, Captain Vichy revealed a happy expression. It's enough to be sure of this. Since there's no conventional location, let's do it again. If he were to tear apart all the abnormal parts of his body, he would be able to find it. If this guy could really change the position of his heart, he might be a demi-human that was undergoing metamorphosis. The value of his corpse and heart should be much higher. For a moment, the members of the team revealed excited expressions, and their fighting spirits soared. If that was really the case, they would receive a large reward once they successfully hunted it down. Whoosh! A long metal whip covered in lightning shot out from Vic's metal right arm. It accurately wrapped around the giant's neck. He would be in charge of restricting their movements, while his teammates would tear their bodies apart. Sizzle. Maximized energy output. Visible streaks of lightning ran along the metal whip and reached the giant's body. The lightning attribute had a restraining effect on the demi-human giants. It has the effect of highly effective paralysis and electric shock burns. Once the paralysis took effect, the teammates would be able to move freely and use their most damaging attacks to tear apart the giant's body to find the location of its heart. It was the same with the previous joint attack. But the situation this time was not quite right. When the lightning struck the target, the burn was only on the surface. It was not as intense as the previous time. What's going on? Vic couldn't understand the situation in front of him. He was obviously maximizing the energy output, but why was the effect so much worse than the last time? At the same time, his teammates also launched attacks. Yuri, the strong man with the lava body, carried a giant axe covered with lava lines and gave a powerful jump chop. The giant, who should have been paralyzed, suddenly broke free from the long whip. Crack, he moved horizontally with his centipede-like appendages, avoiding the chop while giving a horizontal tail swing. Boom! Yuri was sent flying and crashed into the residential house on the side. Dust flew everywhere. Vic also thought of something at the same time and quickly shouted, "This guy has evolved adaptive resistance. Not only can he gradually resist the elemental effects applied to him, but he can also slowly adapt to our attack mode. We must kill him as soon as possible, or there will be a big problem." At this time, an armor-piercing bullet with an explosive effect was fired by Winkuf, trying to blow up the target's head and buy time for the team to recover. An incredible scene happened. Perhaps he had adapted to the team's combat mode and guessed that there would be bullets coming from behind. After the giant sent Yuri flying with a tail swing, he immediately began to move irregularly and quickly. This sudden burst of fast movement allowed him to smoothly avoid the armor-piercing bullet. Then he followed the direction of the bullet and used the strength provided by his appendages. He bent his knees, accumulated power, and jumped. The giant jumped directly to the building 40 meters away. He crashed into the hidden room where the sniper, Winkuf, was holding the gun. The situation inside was unknown for the time being. Oh no! At this time, Yuri, who had been sent flying, returned to the team. Everyone rushed to the house where Winkuf was holding the gun as fast as possible, but it was too late. Winkuf and his favorite Barrett sniper rifle had been completely swallowed, and a pair of military leather shoes could barely be seen hanging in a mouth. Next, another thing that was beyond common sense happened. Split. The giant not only had appendages similar to centipede-like appendages, but also inherited the characteristics of arthropods. The 4-meter-long body was split horizontally from the middle segment. It became two independent parts. After the upper body was split, it immediately grew an identical lower body with the help of ultra-rapid regeneration and returned to the original appearance of the giant. As for the lower body that was split, it was actually carrying Winkuf's head. A large number of fleshy tentacles and nerves were connected to the neck. The eyeball rolled up, and his consciousness was deprived. There are other characteristics? Run. Vic's judgment was correct. As the eye, Winkuf was dead, and it was almost impossible to find the heart in this situation. Just as they turned around and tried to escape, boom, an armor-piercing bullet was fired and accurately hit Captain Vic's neck. Even though he was a transformed human, he couldn't withstand the power of an armor-piercing bullet. The metal body that formed the neck was instantly torn apart by the armor-piercing bullet, and his head was separated from his body. His head fell on the windowsill, but due to the characteristics of a transformed human, he could continue to live as long as his brain was still there. The scene in front of him made him realize the horror of the target. The Barrett rifle that was swallowed by the giant was integrated with the lower body and was held in place by several strips of flesh. It's over. The situation was broken, and there was no possibility of escape. All that was left were the screams of grief. Watching his teammates being torn apart and eaten one after another, Vic could only watch helplessly. The scenes of the past quickly flashed through his mind. He recalled the days and nights he spent with his teammates. There wasn't much fear on his face. When he first stepped into Limitless City, he was already prepared to die. Staring at the giant crawling towards him, Vic could only close his eyes, however. The expected feeling of his skull being bitten did not come. When he opened his eyes again, there were 3 young men standing in front of him. Chapter 1558. On the 18-story balcony, Han Dong was silently evaluating the battle scene below. Listening to their conversation, the heart should be the key to killing the giant. I didn't expect this thing to be so smart. At first, it pretended to be stupid and deliberately suffered the attacks of this team. In fact, it was secretly doing 2 things. It gradually adapted to their attack characteristics and patterns and focused on the changes in the position of the heart, not letting the heart be exposed to the wound. When the team's first round of attack was completely over, its adaptation was basically completed. In one fell swoop, it killed the sniper hiding in the dark and instantly broke the situation. Splitting characteristics were also quite special. It could actually control the consciousness of the living body swallowed into the body, and then split out to form an independent combat unit. However, this kind of splitting should also have a limit. When it swallowed the other members of the team, it would carry out similar splitting behavior. It's almost time. It's our turn. The heart. I'll dig it out. Glenn, who had long been unable to hold back, stepped on the edge of the balcony. The impact of the step combined with the acceleration of gravity and swooped straight down to the battle area below. At this moment, the giant was preparing to eat the head of the last cyborg near the balcony area. It's a perfect angle. Don't die in a flash. Glenn, who was falling, reached out and gently touched the box of resentment in front of his chest, accompanied by the sound of friction of precision parts. The box was dismantled. Attached to Glenn's body, it turned into a perfect combination of hands and feet with his limbs. One hand hooked on a clothesline on the upper floor. With this as the axis point, the dive became a horizontal movement. A perfect kick in the air. Bang! The moment the kick hit, there was even a wave of air in the air. At the same time, there was a clear sound of the skull breaking. The huge impact broke the flesh inside the skull. The 4-meter-long giant's body was kicked out and heavily hit the wall. The whole building was slightly trembling. However, at the same time when Glenn landed in the room, the scope had already locked onto him. Bang! The giant controlled the sniper and pulled the trigger. A red armor-piercing bullet with an explosive effect locked onto Glenn's body. It's really troublesome. The current physical state is difficult to resist this kind of attack, but this kind of feeling is also very exciting. The domain is unfolded. Buzz! A domain invisible to the naked eye spread out in an instant. The moment the bullet was fired, Glenn seemed to be able to capture the trajectory of the bullet, and in a flash, he made a difficult movement of bending back 90 degrees. The bullet almost grazed his clothes and shot into the opposite building. Boom! At the same time as the explosion. Grim had already torn the controlled sniper to shreds. The pieces of flesh torn apart by resentment were annihilated one after another. Then, Han Dong and Sally also landed in the Yangtai district. Green, do you need help? No need. We've already seen the characteristics of this thing very clearly from above. Let me play with the rest. Han Dong made an okay gesture and leaned against the balcony with Sally to watch the show quietly. View changes to Alpha Team. Captain Vic. At this moment, he was pretending to be dead and secretly observing the strange team that had suddenly appeared. He was very confused about the situation in front of him. I have never seen this group in Kalmus. What are they doing? You actually let your teammate fight the giant, while the other two stay here and watch the show? Vicky couldn't understand what was happening. Regardless of whether it was him or the other teams in the city within the wall, they had to work together to deal with the giants in the limitless city. At least one eye was needed to observe the position of the heart. A melee member was responsible for attracting attention, and a multifunctional member to control the situation. He couldn't figure out how a person could kill a giant. The difference in physique and strength, the advantage of ultra-rapid regeneration, and the special characteristic that only the heart would die. It was impossible for a person to deal with it. These guys won't live for long, but it's just enough to buy me a chance to live. Damn it, my body is also destroyed. If I only use my head, I can escape. But all the materials I've been accumulating on my body will all be gone. Whatever, since there's such a chance, I'll save my life first. The Bloodline Alpha model had a special effect. Even if only the mechanical head was left, as long as the human brain installed inside was not damaged, the relevant functions could be operated normally. A spidery metal leg grew out from the neck, just as he was about to sneak away. Slap! A hand that emitted the smell of blood grabbed his head. I have a lot of things to ask you later. Don't be in a hurry to leave. If you cooperate, I'll consider letting you go alive. Of course, if there are any small movements, I'll use special methods to directly extract information from your brain. Okay, the inexplicable sense of oppression made Vic not dare to resist, but he still asked the question in his heart. Why don't you work together to fight? This is a mutated subhuman. It's basically impossible to kill it alone. Just watch. What happened next was beyond Vic's cognition. In his view, the young man who seemed to be suffering from some kind of disease that caused his body to be full of small holes was gradually suppressing the 4-meter-tall giant without any armor. The young man's flexible body and indescribable nerve reflexes allowed him to dodge every attack. From his expression, he seemed to be relatively relaxed. Moreover, the young man's body looked thin, but he was able to give effective and fatal attacks. No matter if it was a straight punch, a claw attack, or a kick. Part of it was related to the equipment, and part of it came from the young man's own characteristics. Some kind of tentacles were faintly floating. So strong. Who are you? Are you the hikers who wandered in the infinite city for a long time and rarely returned to Kalmus? Huh, what is he doing? Vic couldn't understand the scene in front of him. The young man who originally had the advantage suddenly stopped moving as if he had a short circuit. He just stood straight in front of the giant. Is his body overloaded? Hurry up and save him. Once he is eaten, he will be controlled by his consciousness and split into independent units of the same combat power. However, no matter how Vic emphasized the seriousness of the matter, Han Dong and Sally were still indifferent. Han Dong put his index finger in front of his lips. Chill. Keep your voice down. Just watch. Green has just found a better solution. You, the young man who was full of small holes, didn't have a short circuit at all. He was even stretching on the spot. What happened next was exactly what he had been expecting. The giant opened its bloody mouth and directly swallowed the young man into its body. But if one looked closely, it seemed like the young man took the initiative to enter the giant's body. A second passed. Boom! The giant's lower abdomen suddenly exploded. The young man, who was full of blood vessels and internal organs, climbed out with a relaxed expression. He held a beating heart in his hand. So troublesome. This guy hid the heart at the end. Sure enough, it's better to deal with it directly in the body. You two come over here. According to the staff, it seems like we have to drip the heart's blood on our emblems. As the heart was dug out, the giant's regenerative ability was completely wiped out. It was dying at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chapter 1559. Killing a giant alone. Moreover, it was an extremely dangerous method that had never been heard of before. It actually crawled into the giant's body through the devouring process. This caused the altered human, Vichy, to enter a state of crash. Hey, mechanical head, you just need to pour the heart's blood on the surface of the badge. When we accepted the first exploration mission, the staff told us so. This sentence was like a hammer that hit Vic's head heavily. What? First exploration. Wait, don't waste this treasure. This is a complete giant's heart. Are you really newbies? Yes, we just came out of the third elevator and saw this giant running wildly on the street. Because we had no experience in exploration, we tried to chase after it. We didn't expect to meet you guys already fighting with the giant. Considering that you guys are seniors, we let you handle it and didn't directly intervene. By the way, what's the use of a complete giant's heart? I clearly remember that the staff emphasized that the heart's blood should be poured on the badge. Vic's extremely chaotic thoughts calmed down slightly. Only newbies would do such a crazy thing, and this group of people had no need to deceive him. That's because, under normal circumstances, it's impossible to get a complete heart. It's extremely difficult to hunt a giant. As long as their heart isn't damaged, the giant can quickly regenerate. Often, when attacking the giant, the heart has already been destroyed. It's extremely difficult to completely remove the heart like you guys. Usually, the heart will be cut open, pierced, or even completely burned. In order to obtain the proof of killing a giant, you need to store a part of the heart's blood in the badge before it runs out. If you get a complete heart, you don't need to do this at all. As long as the heart maintains its integrity, It can remain active forever in the infinite city. If you bring it back, you can prove your perfect kill and sell it for a high price. Of course, you can use it yourself. Moreover, the source of this heart is at least a mutated subhuman with intelligence. It's best to keep it in a container. First, to avoid being seen by other teams. Second, the smell emitted by the heart may attract other giants. Perhaps it was to survive, or perhaps it was because he was amazed by the strength of the young man. Vic tried his best to explain the heart problem clearly. Oh, it can also attract other giants. Hearing this, Glenn became excited. He immediately tore off a strand of extremely flexible hair and used it as a rope to tie the heart to his waist. He had no intention of preserving it at all. It was more like he was using it as bait. Han Dong, on the other hand, noticed the important information mentioned in the explanation just now. By the way, what does subhuman mean? And what does mutation mean? Why is the giant's heart so important? Tell me in detail. All right. However, I suggest we change the location. If the battle causes a relatively large commotion, it will definitely attract unwanted attention. Let's talk here. It's quite comfortable. Han Dong signaled with his eyes. Sally stomped her goat hooves and went to a higher place to observe the situation. Han Dong and Green had the same idea. They didn't mind at all that they were being watched. He sat cross-legged and placed Wei Chi's head in front of him. Don't worry. If anyone comes to disturb us, my friends will kill them all. In addition, if the value of the information you provide exceeds your value, I will let you go. Wei Chi didn't mind at all. From his point of view, he was saved by the young man in front of him. Moreover, the young man had killed a giant to avenge his teammate. It was natural for him to provide some information. All right, I will first explain the issue related to the giant's heart. This issue involves the origin of the limitless city and the origin of the giants. You should have noticed that this city contains infinite vitality. Even if the buildings and streets are destroyed, they will be regenerated and rebuilt with the help of plants. This is also the origin of the name Limitless City. These endless vitality originates from within the limitless city. Rumor has it that the deepest part of the city produces a pure liquid called ether. It is known as the source of life and also known as the giant's poison. In the area where this liquid flows, all living things will break through their inherent limits and grow crazily. Under special circumstances, they will even gain independent consciousness. Once a living thing comes into contact with it, there's a certain probability that it will break through the limits of the body and become a giant. After the ether enters the body, the main area it flows to is the heart, transforming the heart into the only important area of life. From then on, the individual will become a member of the limitless city and can absorb the vitality of the limitless city through the heart to achieve rapid regeneration. This is also the reason why the heart must be targeted to kill a giant. The staff of the city in the wall asked us to take the heart's blood back because the heart's blood contains ether. From this, we can identify the type of giant, its rarity, and other information. Oh, it sounds like ether is a good substance. It can even break through the inherent limits of living things. This thing is not good at all. Ether hides a lot of secrets that are still unknown. Even some strong people who can reach the inner city can't control it. Once it is infected and invaded, its self-consciousness will be seriously affected and may even be replaced. I don't know what kind of bad effects it will have. However, some giants' hearts are indeed useful after special treatment. This is also the reason why the complete hearts can be sold at a high price. In fact, the secret of ether is the root of everyone's exploration of the limitless city. Once they figure it out, they may be able to achieve ascension and leave this damn place completely. With your strength, there may be hope to reach the inner city and find out the truth. Han Dong, as the person who removed the Ladybug organization, was very clear about the nature of ascension. He was only interested in the ultimate treasure hidden here. Stop flattering me and continue with the useful information. Okay, according to the current exploration of a limitless city, the giants can be roughly divided into the following major categories: subhuman species, beast species, plant species, elemental species. There are also extremely rare god species that only exist in the limitless city. Among them, subhuman species are the most common. Most of them are transformed from the corpses of explorers. Once an explorer like me dies in the limitless city, the extremely small amount of Aitr in the environment can easily invade the corpse. After a long time, when the concentration of Aitr in the heart reaches a high enough level, the corpse will turn into a giant. Due to the lack of oxygen after a period of death, subhuman species tend to have low intelligence. They don't know how to change the position of the heart and often exist in the default position. They're the easiest to kill. In addition, due to the low concentration of Aitr in the outer city, the transformation process of the corpse can take up to a week or even longer. During this period, the corpse may merge with other nearby species. For example, the subhuman species that you killed just now combined with the centipede that crawled on the corpse during the transformation period and obtained the corresponding characteristics. It is a little troublesome to deal with them. In addition, according to the special characteristics of the corpse, subhuman species also have the corresponding growth and mutation. During the subsequent growth period, they may slowly recover their intelligence and obtain greater physique and strength. They can also obtain additional characteristics through eating. After reaching a certain condition and breaking through the limit, they can even completely evolve. Chapter 1560. By the way, the giant we just killed also has a special ability. The living things swallowed into his body will be assimilated into his body and completely controlled. Is this an evolution? It can only be regarded as an ordinary mutation. It should be an ability he got by swallowing other explorers. Once the demi-human evolves, there will be an absolute qualitative change. We can see the difference at a glance. It is not something we can deal with at all. As an explorer who only dares to wander in the outer city, I don't know what it is like. Oh, it's a bit interesting. Let's continue to talk about the other types. The other types are relatively rare or even rare. It is also a kind of opportunity to encounter them. Beast type is the literal meaning. It is highly adaptable to humans. When non-human animals are affected by Aitr, there is only a very low probability of turning into giants. Most animals will die directly because of their weak will or because they don't match Aitr. A very small number of beasts that turn into giants will be endowed with wisdom and have unique characteristics. It is far from being comparable to the demi-human species. Moreover, they're extremely hidden and often deeply integrated with the environment. They hide in the depths of the city caves. Beast type? The appearance still maintains the original beast body? Yes, the basic characteristics will not change, but the physique is very different from before. There are also very few beasts that may show some human characteristics because they have swallowed explorers. I have only heard about it, but I have never really seen it. Speaking of beasts, the first thing Han Dong thought of was Sally. Sally, as a black mountain goat, could be considered a top-grade beast among the mantis demons if this classification was applied. Perhaps the heart of the beast type would have a special effect on Sally. Can I receive missions related to beasts in the hall area? This is very rare, and once it appears, it will attract the competition of strong teams. If you're interested in beasts, I suggest you go to the trading area to try your luck. Because beasts are often very powerful, many teams are self-aware and won't deliberately die. Some teams will accidentally encounter the nest of beasts when exploring the infinite city. They will record the reference objects and landform characteristics near the nest in detail. You can buy clues and information from them by spending some money. Well, let's continue the introduction of the giant types. The third category, plant seeds, as the name suggests, come from plants that have been affected by Aitr. Under certain conditions and accidental circumstances, plants affected by Aitr would develop self-awareness, become independent individuals, and evolve into giants. Their rarity was no less than that of beasts. They were often mixed with the various types of plants in the city and were very difficult to find. Moreover, plants have a characteristic that is different from other giants. Most of them are neutral existences. They will not take the initiative to attack explorers who set foot in the infinite city. I have even heard that some teams have received help from them. The reason why they seem friendly is that they mainly feed on plants, and they can also absorb underground water through their roots. Most of them are not interested in meat. There's actually a neutral one. However, you still have to be careful. If you happen to encounter plants that like to eat meat, it's still very dangerous. Next was the elemental seed, which was a rare species that all explorers hoped to encounter. They were usually born from rocks and metals and were given an independent consciousness by Aitr. Very few of them were born from flames or frost. These guys are simply a treasure trove. There must be rare materials on them, especially the crystal ribs that they use to protect their hearts. They are extremely rare forging materials and are priceless. Interesting was the last god seed ? This was also the type that Han Dong was most concerned about. In this game, where the level was suppressed to the level of ordinary people, if a mythical creature appeared, everyone would die. There is very little information and intelligence about the god seed. This kind of giant only exists in the central area of the Infinite City. Rumor has it that their hearts have been filled with the purest Aitr liquid. They are invulnerable and immortal. No one knows how they came about, how they were formed, and how they look like. Well, it seems that if we want to know more about the God Seed, we have to go to the central area of the Infinite City. Do you have a map of the Infinite City? Vic shook his head and explained nervously, I don't have that. Because the Infinite City is alive and changes and migrations are happening all the time, we rely on our familiarity with the outer city to hunt giants in a fixed area. We have already memorized the reference of this area. We only want to hunt subhumans steadily and have never considered the problem of going deeper. Under the influence of Aitr, the entire Infinite City not only grows, but also migrates and changes on its own. No wonder the map is not easy to get. Okay, let me ask you one last question. If we want to go to the inner city, are there any reference objects or special routes? How about this? I will draw a map of the current area and mark out the reference objects. You just have to follow the fixed reference objects and walk out of this area, and you will be able to go deeper. Vic used his modified human characteristics to accurately draw a detailed map on paper and mark out the location of each reference object. Not bad. In that case, you're not worth much. Vic, who heard this sentence, closed his eyes and waited quietly for the arrival of death. There were no rules or restrictions in the Infinite City. It was very common to be killed and robbed. Even Vic had done something similar before. However, Vic closed his eyes and waited for a long time, but there was no murderous intent. What are you doing? Are you still not leaving? Following Han Dong's question, the latter opened his eyes with a puzzled look. Aren't you going to kill me? I said that as long as the information you provide is more than your value, I will let you go. Thank you. Vic grew a spider-like metal leg from his neck, and before leaving, he tentatively asked one last question, right? Isn't your mission first exploration? Killing giants has far exceeded the mission requirements. You can go back directly to submit the mission and get the equivalent reward, and get the official team certification. The hearts in your hands can also be sold for a good price. Do you want to go back together? Running back and forth is a waste of time, and the exploration has just begun. Our purpose in coming to the Infinite City is different from yours. We are not simply here to complete missions or kill giants. That's it, goodbye. Vic looked at the young man in front of him for a long time and finally chose to leave. He knew very well that he was not the same kind of person as this group of young men. Even if he could ask for cooperation, he would only be a burden. Chapter 1561. Lift number 7. The Bop Squad also began their exploration of the limitless city. Although they did not have the 2 extra points of luck like Han Dong, they were able to encounter giants as soon as the exploration began. However, they also had an efficient exploration method. The key point was the 6th origin, Helen Silver. Due to Helen's innate characteristics, she had a high affinity and control over plants. Day of the Ladybug had perfectly replicated this ability into the corresponding temporary body in the game. As long as one reached out and touched the plants in the limitless city, one could sense the flow of vitality within and determine the specific direction to go deeper into the city. There was something special about this. The small amount of itra flowing between the vascular bundles allowed the plants to have a sense of community. Helen, whose level was suppressed, was unable to control the plants here. Following Helen's senses, the squad continued to go deeper into the city. During this period, the squad also encountered the lowest level subhuman. Is this a giant? It's not as dangerous as we imagined. Or is it just the lowest level species we encountered? This thing's intelligence is still in the undeveloped stage. It completely relies on instinct to move. As long as we touch its heart, we can easily kill it. The 3-meter-tall giant collapsed on the ground. Its body that seemed to be completely unharmed was already dead and rapidly disintegrating. It was completely different from when Grimm killed the giant with its stomach cut open and his body covered in blood. There was no trace of blood at the scene. The giant was unharmed, and Bop's clothes were neat and tidy. A perfectly peeled and even cleaned heart was floating above Bop's palm. The way to kill it was simple. In the initial attack, after understanding the characteristics of the ultra-rapid regeneration and the body shape of the blood of the heart that was requested by the staff to collect, it was determined that the heart was the key. Bop turned his right arm into a void state, penetrating the skin, muscles, and bones, and easily achieved the heart peeling. The whole process was supplemented by Hyde Darius's strongman lock on the giant. Killing the giant has exceeded the requirements of the initial exploration. If we bring this heart back, we should be able to complete the mission in advance and complete the official team certification. As an official team, we can understand the details of the limitless city and the giants. This heart should be able to sell for a lot of money and should be able to exchange for more in-depth information at the trading point. Let's go back. Just as Bop made the decision to return, Helen was in a strange state, her whole body pressed against a huge stalk-like plant, as if she was listening to some kind of sound coming from within the plant. Wait, I seem to hear a very weak voice mixed with the plants, trying to call out to me. The source of the sound corresponds to a unique life, aura. It's about 10 kilometers away from us. Do you want to go there? This is the first time I've encountered such a situation. The plants I've encountered before have only sensed ordinary vitality. Just as Bop was considering whether or not he should search for the source of the sound without sufficient information, Dimps gave him a suggestion. The journey of destiny is very particular about opportunities and providence. The overall process is not fixed and linear. The occasional fortuitous encounter might lead to a brand new route to the final destination. If you miss it, it'll be difficult to encounter it again. Since it's not too far away, I suggest that you take a look. Bop immediately listened to Dempsey's opinion. All right, let's go. The closer she got to the source of the sound, the clearer the sound became until Helen heard it clearly. Outsider, please help me. At a distance of 1 kilometer, the coverage of the plants in the environment suddenly increased. Some buildings were even mainly made up of plants, while the stone and steel only made up 20%. Mushroom colonies covered the walls, and there were even large mushroom umbrellas that were several meters tall. They were all constantly spitting out hallucinogenic substances. Any living being that approached this area would be affected. If they weren't careful, they would get lost in it. Even the giants were no exception. Finally, everyone found a seemingly bottomless alley. Their current location was close to the border between the outer city and the inner city. Dense, thorny vines sealed off the top of their heads, and extremely aggressive living plants grew in the alley. If they got close, they would be penetrated. There were even some human faces made of plants that were reflected on both sides of the wall, struggling in pain. However, the plants here had a different attitude towards Helen. When Helen walked in front to open up a path, the ceiling structure formed by the plants automatically disintegrated and took the initiative to open up a path that led straight to the deepest part. At the end of the path was a building made purely of plants. All the steel and concrete had been replaced by plants, and the exterior still maintained the appearance of a tall building. The source of the sound is in this building. No, this is... As soon as he finished speaking, the 100-story building suddenly trembled. Extremely thick roots emerged from the ground, supporting the entire building as it slowly rose. The huge eyes hidden at the bottom were staring at everyone. Such a scene made even Bop take a few steps back. He didn't expect the target of the sound source to be a plant giant that was hundreds of meters tall. The subhumans they hunted couldn't compare at all, just as everyone was about to get into a battle stance. Helen took the initiative to touch the surface of a huge root and stretched out her hand. Don't be nervous. It's not hostile. It just wants us to help. Something unclean has been mixed in its body, and it can't get rid of it by itself. If we can help it get rid of the thing in its body, it will give us a corresponding gift. As soon as she finished speaking, a notification sounded in everyone's heads. Infinite City, side mission, giant tree Ryan needs help. Triggered. After achieving the goal, you will receive the exclusive material, Ryan's Tender Branch. You will receive Ryan's help during the subsequent exploration of Infinite City. Do you want to accept this side mission? On the other side, Han Dong and the others were going deeper and deeper into the city according to the reference objects marked on the map. The giant's heart, hanging on Grimm's waist, played an effective role in attracting the subhumans. Along the way, they encountered 3 subhumans that weren't very smart, and they were all killed perfectly. When the other teams noticed the hearts hanging on Grimm's waist, they all avoided them. When the 3 of them crossed the area marked on the map and were about to reach the border between the inner and outer city, a voice that hadn't been heard for a long time came from within his body. Nicholas, this count has found something. I have adapted to the original smell of this city. The air here is mixed with a completely different smell. It comes from some kind of living creature, but it is completely different from the giants we met before. Do you want to look for the source? Lead the way. Drops of blood seeped out from his pores, and the gore fiend hound condensed. The split count's sense of smell became more sensitive. He quickly jumped between the buildings to find a unique smell, and the densely packed buildings gradually became loose, until everyone descended from the tall building and arrived at an open space in the middle of the city that was filled with tall grass. It's down here. There's a different smell. In the tall grass, there was a cave entrance with a diameter of hundreds of meters. There must be a different giant hidden below, or even a treasure. Chapter 1562. Hidden Snow Area, Unknown Catacombs, has been discovered. Please explore the area to obtain relevant rewards. Staring at the bottomless dark catacombs, listening to the system announcement, Grimm's interest was piqued. Nicholas, is your mount stronger than before? It can actually find this place with its sense of smell not bad. Grimm used to think of the bloodhound as a kind of parasitic mount of Han Dong, which could be retracted by his right arm at any time. Now, it seemed that this was not the case. Grimm's palm, which was full of holes, fell on Count's head for the first time. While stroking the dog's head, it slid down to the dog's mane. Grimm was facing this kind of intimate contact with the prime essence. 2 extreme emotions, fear and pride, that should not have appeared at the same time, were directly expressed by Count. Holding his proud head high, he tried his best to straighten his body. Through the whole body's blood flow, the dog's mane on his back presented a kind of elegant and handsome style, so that Grimm could feel more comfortable touching it. Unfortunately, the dog's tail was clamped between his legs, and he could not lift it up no matter how hard he tried. Count was originally a unique blood descendant. During the Great Expedition, due to a chance opportunity, he completely cut off the shackle from the blood ancestor and became completely independent, a blood life that could not be found in the hybrid demon circle. He is currently in contact with another world that worships blood and has great potential. Oh, that's amazing. Now that you mention it, I also want to get a blood descendant to try. But such a unique one should only be limited to this one, right? It seems that my way of managing mounts is not correct. I also need to cultivate a Yandelo's hound seriously and not just borrow one every time I need one. Of course, it would be best if I could directly control the MHS. SZA. Let's go. let's go down and take a look. After stroking the dog, Grim turned to the entrance of the catacombs and threw himself into it with his arms spread open. The depth of the unknown catacombs was more than 600 meters. Grim did not have any defense or deceleration measures, so he was in free fall. The moment he landed, he tried to reduce the fall damage with the help of the Abyss physique. Crack! Even so, because the falling speed was too fast, his legs were still crushed, and the bone fragments flew in all directions. Although his upper body was intact, his internal organs had slipped out from his wounds. Grim, on the other hand, had a rather comfortable and energetic expression on his face. It seemed that this fall had completely dispelled all the tiredness during the journey. The 4 giant hearts hanging on his waist were perfectly protected. A short while later, Bloodhound stuck to the wall and chased after them with Han Dong and Sally on its back. The catacombs passageway here was also over 100 meters tall. It was likely that giants of the same size lived here. There were 2 forks in front of him, one on the left and the other on the right. There was a very strange smell floating here, like a faint smell of meat mixed with rotten eggs. Hey, dog, which direction is the smell coming from? Faced with Glenn's question, Count immediately displayed 120% of his olfactory ability and answered in a serious manner. The smell is coming from the right. There's no mistake about it. Han Dong followed suit. Then let's look for the source of the aura first. After we've dealt with the guy hiding in the cave, we'll come back here and explore to the left. Maybe we'll find something unexpected. At the current stage, Count could only maintain a body length of 2 meters at most. It was already the limit for him to carry 2 people. Just as everyone was about to move forward along the right side of the cave, Grim suddenly reached out and patted the dog's head. Sally, come down, let me try this bloodhound seat. Oh. Even if Sally was very unwilling, Grim's request could not be rejected. Before Sally could completely get down from the dog, she was impatiently squeezed down by Grim, who was rubbing his hands. It happened to replace her original position, completely sticking to Han Dong's back. It's really good to sit. The pure comfort and closeness brought by flesh and blood are all first class. It's not at all like a hound. When I was riding a hound before, a few sharp things would poke into my body. Nicholas, after we go back, can you lend me this bloodhound for 2 days? I want to take it to the Abyss party to have some fun. When Count heard this sentence, he was almost scared out of his wits. He hurriedly sent a telepathic message. Nicholas, don't let Grim take me away. The Abyss party, I'll really die. Count and my consciousness are completely tied together when seed breaking. We can't be separated for a long time and long distance. How about this? I should also go to the center of chaos. We can talk about it when the time comes. Oh, that's better. If you come with me, Nicholas, I'll show you the most primitive madness in the Abyss. You'll definitely like it. Okay, just like that. The 2 men, one in front and one behind, rode the bloodhound, galloping in the huge underground cave. Sally could only step on the goat's hooves and silently follow behind them. Although she was jealous, she could only silently accept this reality. However, at this time, Sally was also concerned about another matter. Since she came to the cave, when she clearly smelled the smell, she had a faint sense of homogeneity. Temporarily putting aside the scene of the 2 men riding, she was eager to find out the source of the smell. She followed the smell to the deepest part of the cave. When she saw the giant hiding here at the same time, she also understood what this between the stench and the smell of flesh was all about. Wow, what a huge species of beast. 100-meter class antelope was lying paralyzed in the deepest part of the cave. The reason why it was described as an antelope was because of some of its physical characteristics, such as the structure of its hooves and a long hollow horn that was cut open. As for its body, it had many characteristics that were different from antelopes or other artiodactyls, such as 1. The antelope horn that was constantly emitting black smoke and had strange runes shining on it. 2. It had no skin or flesh at all, a pure skull-like head. A kind of black smoke was also emitting from its eyes, looking extremely evil. 3. The gray hair on the surface of its body was as strong as iron needles, and even some black-spotted mushrooms were interspersed. At first glance, it was a giant that was extremely aggressive and inclined towards evil, but it was already unable to move. The body covered by iron hair was completely cut open, and not only did it not heal itself, but it was also slowly evaporating and dissipating. The key reason was that the surface of its huge heart was pierced by a wide-bladed longsword that was emitting cold air. One could even see a few human-shaped corpses squeezed in its exposed stomach and intestines, one of which should be the owner of the longsword. Side mission, heavily injured giant beast, has been triggered. A 100-meter class rare giant beast that is on the verge of death has been found lying in the depths of an unknown cave. Please make your choice. 1. Kill the dying giant beast and add a final blow to the surface of its heart. Note, the giant beast may fight to the death at the moment of life and death. Reward: damaged or completely damaged giant heart, beast type, 100-meter class, and related corpse materials. 2. Consume a sufficient number of giant hearts to repair the damage of the giant beast's heart. Note, the giant beast cannot recognize your intentions and may attack you during the healing period. This condition requires consuming at least 3 giant hearts, and the members of the team must be proficient in medical skills or blood control to prevent the beast's heart from collapsing and dying when pulling out the weapon. Reward: a gift from the giant beast bell. At the same time, you will receive help from the bell in the following exploration. Listening to the description of the mission, the second option was obviously better, but Han Dong seemed to have thought of the best solution. Chapter 1563. Glenn, I have a better idea, but it'll take some time. I suggest you warm up in advance. There'll be something very troublesome later, and it might be as difficult as the special activities we participated in before. Hearing this, Glenn directly stuck his eyeball to Han Dong's temple and rubbed it up and down. It was as if he could see through the skull and see deeper into the brain. I seem to have spied a very crazy idea in your brain. Okay, I'll warm up. Before leaving, Glenn also gave the 4 hearts hanging from his waist to Han Dong. Only then did Sally dare to slowly move forward. What about me? Am I going to warm up too? Sally, you have to come with me. We need to treat this giant beast next. We can't let Glenn do this kind of delicate work. Are you? Sally vaguely guessed something, but she didn't continue. As the two approached the 100-meter giant beast, the sense of oppression and danger increased exponentially. This feeling was especially strong when they looked at each other. The pure white skull was connected by blood vessels that came from the heart. The tall and twisted black goat's horns, and the abyss-like eye sockets that constantly emitted black gas. The invisible murderous intent that leaked out made people shudder. Even if they were dying, they could still feel the direct threat. Every step they took could lead to an attack. At this time, Han Dong made a decision and transmitted his voice to Count beside him. Count, you should have some medical skills, right? After all, you were born as a blood descendant, and you used to be a great master. You like to learn interesting things from all over the world. I know a little, but it's all for my own blood descendant treatment. I'll leave the heart treatment to you. You must succeed. Otherwise, such a great opportunity will be wasted. You're putting me under a lot of pressure. Okay, this Count will perform well. Perhaps it was because of Glenn's praise just now. Count was a little arrogant, or it seemed that he really had a certain degree of confidence. The blood dog returned to the body, and its consciousness changed. In an instant, a crimson moon replaced the original pupil. A robe condensed from blood wrapped around the body. Blood dripped down along the hair. His temperament changed. Sally, who had been sticking close to him, hurriedly distanced herself from him. She was rather puzzled. How could this dog possess Nicholas's body? Count experienced the long-awaited control of his body. Although he was excited, he was also somewhat dissatisfied. The game has too many restrictions on the body. Even if it's just a surgery, it will be very difficult. Not to mention, the target of the surgery was such a huge and core giant heart. Any mistake would lead to death. The most troublesome thing is that this thing could attack us at any time. However, it's precisely this kind of difficult maneuver that can show off this Count's level. Let's show them the power of the origin. A scalpel made of fresh blood popped out from his wrist. Count did not go straight to the heart. Instead, he walked at a normal pace towards the goat's head that was constantly emitting black smoke. Seeing this, Sally gave Count a good evaluation. This dog is pretty smart. Let's wait for him here. As he approached the treacherous goat's skull step by step, Count forced himself to maintain a friendly expression, but in reality, he was panicking. He was ready to retreat and run away at any moment. In the end, he still managed to get close to the skull without suffering any attacks. Drip! Count used his blood as ink and used his finger to draw a very vivid picture on the ground. 4 hearts surrounding a goat's head. At the same time, he also controlled the blood to create a dynamic picture effect, making the blood flow continuously from the heart to the goat's head to express what he was going to do next. Roar! Suddenly, a deafening roar came from the giant beast's mouth. It seemed to be expressing its consent and was willing to let the blood-stained doctor in front of it perform the heart surgery. Time waits for no one. Considering that the giant beast's life force was continuously draining, Count came to the heart with the giant's sword as quickly as possible. It was the first time Count had seen a heart with a diameter of 5 meters. Dear Miss Sally, I will pull out the giant sword next. You must assist me in suturing the heart at the moment it is pulled out. Otherwise, the target may die directly due to excessive blood loss. Okay. Sally nodded. A few pieces of non-polluting flexible wool appeared in her palm, ready to suture at any time. Pa! She held the hilt with both hands. The zombie physique from Han Dong provided a bonus of strength, which was constantly accumulating in her arms. She must pull out the giant sword in an instant. At the crucial moment, Count was stunned. Facing the scene of the sword being pulled out in front of him, a memory buried deep in his mind quickly flashed in front of his eyes. It was the note of Count's life. His heart was pierced by a female knight from the Hall family with the sacred blood attribute, Blessing Sword. Accidentally mixed the sacred blood into his blood system. When Count woke up, the bloodwine's restraint and control on him no longer existed. When Count pulled the sword out of his heart, it also meant that a new chapter of his life had begun. Blood Descendant. Count. Mongrel. What are you doing? Sally's voice pulled Count's thoughts back to reality from his memories. I was distracted. Pull out the sword now. What Count didn't know was, because he was immersed in the special state of the past, some of the red blood cells in his body were slowly turning into the shape of a sword. With the appearance of a huge GI on his shoulder, his strength reached the maximum. Pull out the sword. Whoosh. Blood splashed out. Due to the pain and the rapid loss of vitality, the giant beast began to struggle wildly. The entire cave was trembling. The goat's hooves directly stomped on the wall, creating a dent of a few meters. Sally maintained her body's center of gravity and immediately sutured the wool to stop the bleeding. Count also immediately started the surgery. For small incisions were made on the surface of the heart that would not cause bleeding. For blood vessels for connection were made. One end was connected to the incision on the surface of the giant beast heart, and the other end was connected to the 4 hearts from the subhuman species. Regular blood transfusion was carried out with the inherent pulse of the heart. At the same time, Count continued to suture the other parts of the giant beast to reduce the burden of the heart's regeneration. As the vitality of the 4 hearts was completely sucked dry, they withered. The giant beast's heart with a diameter of 5 meters regained its blood color and began to beat at a normal frequency. Count, not bad. It's a piece of cake. This kind of low-difficulty task is not difficult at all, even if, before Count could finish his words, his consciousness was directly replaced. While Han Dong took over the body, he directly held the chainsaw in his hand and activated the G-virus in his body. He glanced at Sally with a slightly crazy gaze, conveying some kind of combat message. Do you really want to do this? Han Dong responded crazily but gently. Of course, this is all for you, Sally. Rumble. As the body recovered, The 100-meter giant beast tried to slowly get up. The moment it was about to stand up, a black shadow suddenly flashed in the air. A foot full of power slammed heavily into the goat's skull. Boom! Ripples spread out in the air, and the giant beast that had not completely recovered was kicked to the ground. Crack! The part of the skull that was kicked was completely cracked. Through the crack, the situation of the giant beast's brain could be clearly seen. Oh, that's quite exciting. It's somewhat similar to us hybrid demons. This thing is really suitable for Sally. The inside of the skull was crowded with densely packed black sarcomas. Each sarcomas was like a mushroom, constantly spitting out black mist. It looked extremely disgusting. Chapter 1564. Han Dong didn't think much of the two options given by the side storyline. If they killed the beast directly, they could only obtain the damaged giant beast's heart. If they didn't have a special preservation method, they would not be able to bring it back to the city wall. They might even die before they could leave the cave. They could only soak everyone's badges in the blood of the heart. After returning to the city, they could obtain a high reward for killing the beasts. Some of the materials from the giant beast might be useful, but that was it. If they chose the treatment direction, they might be able to obtain a good gift. Maybe the giant beast would cut off a goat's horn as a gift. The subsequent exploration would also be assisted by the giant beast. Such a reward seemed good. However, after careful consideration, the team's ultimate goal was not to explore the limitless city, but to find and obtain the treasure hidden in the deepest part of the city. This giant beast that resided at the border between the inner city and the outer city would only play a temporary role. Long-term considerations. The above two options were nothing compared to the third option that Han Dong came up with. That was to provide treatment for the giant beast's heart, and at the same time, ensure the integrity of the giant beast. When the heart and the body had fully recovered, the whole heart would be dug out perfectly. Grimm's characteristics were very suitable for this job. Moreover, once the giant beast was restored to its original state, the materials it dropped would also be in better condition. After 4 hours, the last tremor spread throughout the cave. The giant beast, Bellhorn, fell heavily to the ground. There was a very strange circular wound between the lower abdomen and the spine that went all the way to the inside of the body. The wall of the wound had a dark rock structure, and there was no flesh at all. Rather than a wound, it was more like an abyss that was embedded in the body. Something was slowly crawling out from the abyss. Upon closer inspection, it was a young man whose whole body was corroded, with black acid dripping from his wounds. While crawling, his left arm was completely detached due to the deep corrosion. There was a complete heart with a diameter of 5 meters, measured in tons, tied under his body. Even so, the young man still crawled out. Phew, that was dangerous. This giant beast body has a complete defense system. I almost couldn't hold on. How are you guys? You're not dead yet, right? Hundreds of meters away from a wall with the giant goat's hoof print, Han Dong, with comminuted fractures all over his body, slowly crawled out from the wall. Fortunately, I can barely hold on. If he was kicked a few more times, his body would not be able to take it. We need to go back to the city wall to reorganize and increase the strength of the team. Sally, are you okay? I'm okay, but my stamina is basically depleted. I need some time to recover, Ugh. Sally was standing in front of the behemoth's corpse, slowly returning from her black goat form to her human form in the game. Due to her weakness and disorder, she started vomiting the moment she returned to her human form. Grimm, who was resting and recuperating on the giant beast, said while patting its fur, "How are we going to bring these things back? The heart alone weighs a few tons, not to mention the other materials on this thing." Just as Glenn raised this question, a series of standard game prompts sounded frowny face. You have perfectly killed the hidden boss, giant beast Bellhorn, normal condition. The mysterious catacombs are now completely open to your team. The dropped items are as follows. 1. Perfect beast type heart, 100M class. 2. Corrupted horn, cursed sheep's head, needled fur, large. Hardened hoof, large. 3. Coordinate stone, mysterious catacombs, the coordinate stone can only be used in the outer city. It can be used to teleport the team to the mysterious catacombs. Cooldown time is 24 hours. For the convenience of players, the behemoth's materials will be shrunk according to the individual scale. The quality and integrity will not be affected. Hiss! Black smoke rose. When the behemoth's corpse evaporated and disappeared, there were several materials on the ground that were shining with different light beams. It was very similar to the loot dropped by the world boss in role-playing games. Needled fur and hardened hoof were packed in 2 large leather bags, corresponding to the blue light beam. Corrupted horn was 2 sheep's horns emitting corrosive black gas. The surface was engraved with runes, shining with a purple light beam. Cursed sheep's head was also compressed to the size of a normal antelope. Its eyes were emitting black gas. If it could be polished, it should be able to make a good mask. As for perfect beast-type heart, 100M class, it was shining with a pink light beam, symbolizing an epic item in the Ladybug game. That's more like it. Ha ha ha. Han Dong, who was leaning against the wall, stared at the treasures on the ground. He could not control the emotions in his body and laughed crazily. Even if his whole body was comminuted, such crazy laughter would cause severe pain in every part of his body. But Han Dong still could not stop laughing. At the same time, Grim seemed to be assimilated. He also followed along and laughed crazily without stopping. For the next half an hour, the catacombs continued to reverberate with the laughter of the 2 lunatics. And it was very strange that the injuries that should have been aggravated gradually recovered with the crazy laughter. When the 3 of them recovered to a certain extent, they immediately packed up the dropped rare materials. Such a behemoth's heart could not be casually hung around their waists. Once it was exposed, who knew how much trouble it would cause? The good things were directly stored by Grim into the abyss in the body. The 3 of them returned to the starting point of the catacombs from the entrance and stared at the unexplored left passage. Since we have the coordinate stone with us, we can return here at any time. Let's go back to the city wall to submit the mission and properly digest the harvest of our first trip out of the city. The next time we come out, we can directly start exploring from here. City in the wall, Kalmus, because they were carrying precious items, the return journey was slightly tense. When they boarded the city wall lift, all the worries disappeared. Main hall, district similarly, a half-mechanized lady greeted the 3 of them in front of the newcomer counter. Please submit your assassin badge. We will judge whether you have completed the first exploration based on the exploration time and route recorded in the badge. I have a good impression of the 3 of you. It seems that you have just left here 8 hours ago. If the duration of the first exploration is less than 12 hours, the mission submission will definitely fail. You will also lose the opportunity to live in Kalmus. No problem, just submit it directly. When Han Dong handed over the badge, at the same time, he made a gesture of putting his index finger in front of his mouth. When the lady inserted the badge into the device, the image displayed on the projection screen almost made her cry out. She quickly covered her mouth with both hands. All of you come with me. The mayor has specially instructed that the team that kills the behemoth on their first exploration will be personally received by him. 100 meters. How is it possible? Chill. Lower your voice. Please lead the way. Chapter 1565. First Exploration. The mission itself did not require them to kill a giant. Without knowing the characteristics, species, and weaknesses of the giant, it was too difficult to kill a giant born and raised in Infinite City. An assassin who could do this. Not only did he have the ability to adapt to an unknown environment, but he also had the strength and courage to be seen as a person with the potential to enter the inner city and explore the truth of Infinite City, obtaining the right to meet the city lord and enjoying a completely different treatment. However, Han Dong and the others did not just kill a giant. Instead, they perfectly killed a rare beast that was 100 meters long. It was definitely unprecedented in the history of the game server. The City Lord's office was located at the top of the main hall area and required a private elevator to get there. The cyborg lady only sent them to the elevator, and after conveying the exact information to the city lord through the intranet, she stayed outside the elevator door. The city lord would be very happy to have a team like yours. Good luck. The built-in elevator went up 100 meters to the so-called city lord's office. A special room made entirely of metal could effectively block all transmission of signals. Only the intranet created by the city lord could transmit unimpeded here. The intranet server was also set up here so that the city lord could know everything about Calmus. A blond man in a suit was sitting at a circular desk, monitoring and dealing with matters within the city wall through the holographic projection on the table. Beside him stood two bodyguards with the physique of a fighting manga character. They exuded an extremely strong aura. To be exact, they were game managers. One of them had a shaved head and wore a breathing mask. Ashes came out with every breath he took. His right arm was replaced by some kind of extremely dense alien alloy. Just this arm alone weighed 10 tons. The other one had a small mustache, a well-defined face, and a golden combat aura. He looked like he could fight very well. Similarly, there were barcodes and complex ports corresponding to the back of their heads. Compared to the black miasma manager that the three of them had met in the special event, they were only stronger. If they wanted to cause trouble in the city lord's office, only death would await them. Just as the blonde city lord slowly raised his head, Han Dong was stunned. The city lord's image was the executive that Han Dong had met at the Ladybug Fund, the chief supervisor of the game, Mars Preston. However, considering that there should be someone monitoring the situation here in the Black Tower, Han Dong did not take the initiative to acknowledge Director Mars. Otherwise, it would not be worth it if it was considered cheating and the reward was reduced. Moreover, the way Director Mars looked at him didn't change at all. Since they were in the game scene, they had to play their corresponding role. Check the data of the giants you killed. Among them, the three most common and undeveloped subhumans will not be displayed. If there are no problems, I will give you the relevant rewards, privileges, and, at the same time, I will give your team cross-level certification. Because he had submitted the assassin badge before, through the identification badge, he had collected the heart's blood, which was the ichor liquid mixed in, and obtained the corresponding data of the giant. As the city lord of the city lord have a look. 1. Subhuman, mutated, size, less than 10 meters rarity, rare mutation direction, insect life division, consciousness control 2. Beast type variant, size, 100 meters rarity, secret mutation direction, dead structure, black curse, spiked fur. There is no problem with the giant's information. Since killing a 100-meter giant has never happened during the first exploration, I consider that you may not have engaged in any battles and only obtained blood through special channels. You need to provide direct or indirect evidence, such as material from the giant's corpse. If you can't provide it, one of my bodyguards will verify your strength. Glenn's interest was piqued when he heard this. Sure, come, 2 bodyguards together, how about it? This wasn't a joke. Fighting against the game manager, coupled with Green's crazy attribute, things were bound to develop in a bad direction. He would definitely be able to pass the test of strength, but after that, he would have to spend a few days or even a week to recover his body. The advantage of time would be gone. Kidding, of course we have evidence. Han Dong quickly stepped forward to stop Green. At the same time, with a rather skilled technique, he directly reached into Green's mouth. Not only to stop Green from continuing to speak, but also to take out the thing in the body. When a complete heart appeared, even Director Marzu's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. As the game director and executive of the Ladybug Foundation, he was well aware of how strong the world's 01 was. These juniors in front of him were the representatives of the world S01. But what these little guys did was too shocking. Killing a 100-meter giant was one thing, but completely stripping out the heart. To some extent, it had led to an imbalance in the game's difficulty, exceeding the upper limits set by the game. Well, very good, because of the great potential you have realized. At the same time, your team will bypass the outer city exploration team and be directly promoted to the inner city investigation team and enjoy the following privileges. Karma's regular purchases enjoy a 30% discount. Priority to receive high-level missions. Inner city information sharing and browsing rights. In addition, because you killed 5 giants, you got a total of 1,300 ladybug points, 50 subhumans, 150 rare subhumans, and 1,100 meter beasts. In order to quickly familiarize you with the situation of karma and efficiently use internal resources, there will be a staff member to take you directly to the trading area. The perfect heart and various materials you have may be best used there. Thank you, Castellan. I hope you can continue to perform outstandingly during the exploration of the inner city. Then, the 3 badges were personally upgraded by the Castellan. A circle of gold was plated on top of the original badge, representing the noble status of the inner city team. When they left by the elevator, the cyborg girl was still in charge of receiving them outside the door. They took the round-the-city train to the bustling trading area. In the center was a special 3-story shop with a golden ladybug as its signboard, covering an area of thousands of square meters. It was the expanded and functional core of the game. Ladybug Shop, Limitless City Main Shop. Any materials obtained from Limitless City can be processed, modified, and processed here. In addition, compared to the Ladybug Shop you have been to, there are more spending options here. I suggest you go in and learn about it yourself. Okay, what Han Dong needed the most now was material processing, especially the heart. The shop counter was changed into a ring, and many staff members were in charge of receiving customers. Han Dong quickly found the item he wanted: bloodline manufacturing and trading. Chapter 1566. The Ladybug Shop in Kalmus was more like a comprehensive workshop. In addition to the sale of the most important goods, it also provided more useful item production. The equipment that could be purchased directly in the shop was very limited and of low quality. There might be a few blue equipment for sale here, but the quantity was not much. In order to obtain equipment of higher quality that was suitable for oneself, one had to go through item production. Using the high-grade materials obtained from the Limitless City, the corresponding processing fee would be paid. The Ladybug Shop would help to produce the equipment that corresponded to the material's attributes. The efficiency was extremely high, and the production time was controlled within a day. The setting of this item production was also to limit the farming behavior. Some teams relied on their familiarity with the outer city and may stay in the outer city all year round to kill the lowest level demi-humans to earn Ladybug points. However, it was useless to rely on points alone. High-grade materials were often priceless. To obtain them, one had to go deep into the Limitless City to search for treasures or hunt powerful 10-meter or even 100-meter giants. Han Dong was not in a hurry to produce equipment. Instead, he first asked about the bloodline issue. After all, bloodline was a major feature of the Ladybug game. An excellent and suitable bloodline could greatly increase one's personal ability, and it was very effective in the case of level restriction. Other than himself, Grim and Sally did not have bloodline buffs. Can I buy or make bloodlines here? The shop assistant glanced at the gold-rimmed badge on Han Dong's chest and gave a standard answer. The production and purchase of bloodline items is expensive, the process is cumbersome, and the content is special. Please go to the 3rd floor of the shop for details. Remember to show your badge. You will be received by the commissioner and receive corresponding discounts. Thank you. 3rd floor bloodline and special item trading area. From the stairwell to the 3rd floor, it was completely different from the open structure downstairs. It was divided into many compartments and had a high degree of privacy. Only teams that met the level requirement or had checked the conditions in advance or brought enough materials could apply to go to this floor. Similarly, a shop assistant wearing a ladybug mask was responsible for the reception. However, this person's body was mechanically modified. Even his brain was replaced with an intranet processor. A mechanical voice came from the bottom of the mask. What kind of service do you need? Dear Inner City Team, we would like to ask about the method of obtaining bloodline items. We also have some good materials with us. If possible, We would like to make bloodline items here. All right, please follow me. Detailed changes, exchanges, or production matters will be discussed in private in the cubicle. The cubicle here was similar to the Castellan's room. It was completely sealed with metal and only connected to the intranet. A round table with a holographic image function was placed inside. Do you need me to explain in detail how to obtain lineage items? Yes, it's our first time here. Please tell us more about it. Okay. In order to increase the exploration efficiency and survival rate of the residents of Kalma City, our Ladybug shop has specially set up a bloodline R&D zone here. At present, we have opened 3 ways to obtain the bloodline. 1. Replacement. If an individual is not satisfied with an existing bloodline item, they can use Ladybug points to replace it with a bloodline item of the same level. 2. Exchange. If the team has completed the mission of Bloodline in the main hall, they can directly come to us to exchange for designated or random bloodline items. The specific items will be determined according to the mission reward. 3. Production. The Infinite City is full of endless vitality and unimaginable species variability. The blood flowing in the giant's body is very likely to be used as a production material for bloodline items. It is only limited to a few rare species of giants. You seem to be leaning towards production. I wonder if you can show me the materials you have brought. Grim, show him the goods. Unexpectedly, Grim did not intend to take the goods himself. Instead, he turned his body to Han Dong and opened his mouth. You can take it yourself. Previously at the Castellan's place, it felt quite comfortable to be forced in by you. Due to the limitation of my ability, my abyssal capacity has been greatly reduced. It is easy to take it out, although the scene was a bit strange. In the end, Han Dong still put his entire arm in. After a while, he finally pulled out the heart that was covered with black flesh and constantly emitting black smoke. Even the fully mechanized staff fell into a temporary state of shock when they saw the heart. The data processing in their brains froze for a moment. After about 10 seconds, they came back to their senses. This is the heart of a 100-meter level beast, and it is a rare, no, a hidden breed. Han Dong asked, can this thing be made into a bloodline, or do you need some other materials to assist? Such a perfect giant's heart does not need the assistance of any materials. As long as you provide a production fee, we can start immediately here. You don't have to worry about the production. We will never waste any of the value of the materials. It will be perfectly transformed into a bloodline of the same level. Han Dong went straight to the point. What kind of bloodline can this heart create? I estimate that it can at least reach the A level or even the S level. A complete product like this is too rare. How long will the production take? Within 24 hours. Once the production is completed, we will inform you as soon as possible. Okay, then I'll have to trouble you. The staff immediately found a storage container and put the heart in it. At the same time, they paid 100 points for the production fee. Wait a minute, can you still customize equipment here? When we killed this beast, we also dropped a lot of rare materials. In theory, we don't accept equipment production here. You need to go to the blacksmith workshop on the 2nd floor. However, since the materials and the heart are from the same beast, you can also process them together. Part of the materials may be combined for bloodline production. Han Dong continued to reach into Green's body and fiddled with the sheep's horn, skull, and other materials were all taken out. There are actually 2 complete mutated materials. If a set of perfect production plan can be developed, maybe a set that perfectly matches the bloodline attribute can be made. But the production plan needs the cooperation of the user. May I ask which one of you will be mainly used for the equipment and bloodline obtained from these materials? Han Dong slightly hinted with his eyes to Sally, who was next to him. I don't know if Madam can spare time to participate in the production of the set. The equipment and bloodline items obtained will be more suitable for you. The time will also be controlled within 24 hours. Sally was just about to turn back to look at Han Dong's opinion. Green directly reached out and put his hand on Han Dong's shoulder. Sally, you can go directly. I have something to talk to Han Dong alone. Don't disturb us. Chapter 1567. In the stairwell of the Ladybug store, Grim was holding Han Dong's shoulder as they walked down step by step while talking and laughing. Nicholas, when you met the governor, your expression was a bit strange. It seems that you have met in private before. Was it during the hour when you disappeared from the Ladybug store, before we came to the Infinite City? Speaking of which, I can feel that although this body is highly compatible with my consciousness, it shouldn't be my real body. Nicholas, you should already know the nature of this game, right? That's right. The body in the game is not our real body, but a consciousness receptor created by the game company. It is perfectly compatible with our consciousness and has a restrictive effect. The moment the game starts, our consciousness is restricted in it, and it is difficult to break free. We can only return to our real body after we have completely cleared the game. Grim pinched his skin back and forth and used his fingers to drill holes in his body. Oh, you're right. This is the first time I've encountered such a restrictive abyss in the body. It's quite a good method. Speaking of which, are our real bodies okay? Don't worry about that. During the hour when I temporarily return to my real body, I've already reached an agreement with the game company. Our real bodies are completely fine. The other party will also provide protection measures. Grim scratched his cheeks and said indifferently, I'm not too worried that my real body will be damaged. I'm just afraid that they will mess with my real body and cause terrible things to happen. My current mythical state is not very stable. Plus, I went to the Abyss party once. Once a switch in my body is triggered, this interesting game will be interrupted. But since it's okay, it's fine. Next, where should we go? Sally has to wait for 24 hours. Why don't we use the coordinate stone and go outside to play? Han Dong hurriedly waved his hand. Grim, don't be too reckless. The injuries from fighting the beastkin giants have not recovered, including Sally. Our bodies are reaching their limits. Rest and healing are necessary. Also, let's walk around the trading area and see if the Ladybug store has any other services. Also, let's go to the Great Hall to see if we can receive a mission with Bloodline as a reward. Grim, you don't have a bloodline. Under the situation of level restriction, Bloodline, enhancement is very intuitive. With Bloodline and equipment, the probability of winning the final victory will be higher. Okay, I'll listen to you. He returned to the service desk on the first floor and continued to check if there were any other new consumer channels in the Ladybug store, unless there was an additional special expense for selling and producing. The assassins who could come to Kalmus had already passed the adaptation period and unlocked all the limitations of their abilities. Therefore, the item ability unlock had been replaced with training grounds. By spending Ladybug points, he could go to a training field with complete functions and a high degree of simulation. He could even simulate a 10-meter-tall giant for combat training. They were often used to hone their skills or familiarize themselves with new equipment and bloodlines. However, in Han Dong's opinion, there was no need for that. At this moment, Count's voice came from within his body. Nicholas, don't you have extra points? Since you don't have anything to do right now, can you book an advanced training ground and let me use your body for a while? 2 hours. No, 1 hour is enough. What are you doing? This Count took the initiative to ask for training. Do you still need to ask for the reason? I only wanted to give it a try because it was an advanced practice field and could even imitate the environment. Forget it. This Count will reluctantly tell you. When I was treating the giant beast's heart, I accidentally felt the holy sword. This feeling still exists. I want to take this opportunity to try to stimulate the characteristics of the holy sword. Not bad, but I have a condition. What condition? Han Dong did not respond to Count. Instead, he turned to the side, looking around and slightly bored Glenn. Glenn, do you want to have a try? The practice field here seems to be good. The venue is filled with healing spray. A little touch will help with recovery. Just because of the game's restrictions, the level gap between us is also erased. His tongue full of holes licked along the corner of Glenn's mouth. Ha ha ha. It's rare to see you, Nicholas. Take the initiative to challenge me. Hurry up, I can't wait. This was Han Dong's condition. The target of the battle was not the creation of the practice field, but Glenn. This Count is not coming. You go play by yourself. Count, you should know more about the characteristics of the holy blood than I do. The meaning of this thing's existence is to destroy evil. Just a few simulated things in front of you will not be able to stimulate the holy blood. Only an extremely evil, crazy individual born between chaos like Glenn can be the best bait. Besides, the Ladybug game put our levels on the same platform. Maybe we can really meet face to face. If you go to Dawn of Terror in the future, let's talk about your previous achievements. No matter what, you have fought with the first prime and have a comparable record. Han Dong's whispers were slowly drilling into Count's soul and changing his thoughts. Let's try. Han Dong immediately paid 90 points and bought the right to use the advanced practice field for 3 hours. Of course, there was another reason why Han Dong asked Glenn to be the opponent. It just so happened that he could personally experience Glenn's true strength in the game, which would facilitate the formulation of the follow-up plan. Advanced practice field, scene simulation. An ancient coliseum filled with blood. A large number of souls were buried here. During this period, a blood tide would rise from time to drown the trainees. Bloody arms would also appear in the field from time to hinder the battle. Such a scene gave Count a geographical advantage and boosted his confidence. Nicholas's body is not bad at all. Plus, this Count's newly acquired understanding of blood and the scene advantage. Maybe I can really defeat the first prime here. Thus, the battle began. 3 hours passed. Trading area, train platform. A young man with messy hair was carrying a bloody body that was between a human and a dog, waiting for the arrival of the train. Because it was beaten up so badly, there was almost no intact tissue to be found. The others were scared and moved away. Drip, drip, drip. As the blood dripped, it seemed to be mixed with tears. However, Glenn's expression was not very good. There were a total of 7 punctured sword holes on his body. Until now, smoke was still coming out of them, suppressing the self-healing characteristics of the abyss. Your dog is quite powerful. Count, who had been beaten to tears, also felt a unique sense of satisfaction when he heard the praise from Glenn. No matter what, through this battle, the holy sword characteristic had been completely activated. His combat power in the game had increased by another level, and Han Dong had also spied on an extremely terrifying point of Glenn's body. He even felt that he was one step closer to the final treasure. Chapter 1568. Dear Miss Sally, I hope you will like this set of equipment. These are the remaining materials for the equipment. Please keep them well. I wish you the best of luck in the Infinite City. Okay. Due to exhaustion and the injuries accumulated from the battle with the giant beasts, Sally went straight to sleep in the cubicle on the 3rd floor of the shop after cooperating with the equipment mold. When she was woken up by the service staff, 20 hours had passed. I have a small suggestion. Since Miss Sally has recovered her mental state, why don't you perform the bloodline injection here to ensure that you will not be disturbed? Once a bloodline item of this quality is discovered, it will cause a huge uproar. Even if you are in Calmus, there will be people who will attack you. After all, risk and opportunity are proportional. Okay, then I won't disturb you. After the staff left, only Sally was left in the cubicle. There were 2 items on the table. One was a 50 by 50 by 50 centimeters black box. The surface was overflowing with a metallic luster, but the touch was between metal and hard hoof. It was made with hardened hoof blocks. What was stored in the box was the suit that had been created according to Sally's body shape with her suggestions. 2 was a crystal syringe inlaid with a diamond ladybug. The inside was filled with a black liquid in the form of crystal particles. It was the bloodline extracted from the heart of the perfect giant. When Sally reached out to touch the syringe, the item information was immediately transmitted to her brain frowny face bloodline name, Angelica Gazelle of Necrosis grade. A+ restrictions. As the bloodline is taken from the beast-type giant, the stronger the recipient's bestiality is, the more inclined the bloodline's adaptability is. If the adaptability is less than 60%, there is a high probability of failure. Basic effects: 1. Increased overall mobility. Leg-related movement increases significantly. 2. Increased regenerative ability. Best effect in the Infinite City. 3. Curse affinity. The recipient's proficiency in curse-type abilities will be enhanced, and it is possible for the recipient to comprehend more advanced curse-type abilities. Special effects: 1. Fog of necrosis, aura-type skill. The necrosis spores growing under the skin of the individual will maintain the gas output. The range of influence can be adjusted automatically, best effect within a range of 10 m. Any living body affected by the fog will be cursed with necrosis. The body will quickly decay, fester, and wither to death. The recipient can switch this skill on and off. If the recipient has a domain skill, it can be used in combination. The Heart of the Giant. As long as the heart is not destroyed, the individual will live forever. Even if the brain was damaged, the heart could still act as a temporary carrier of consciousness. When the primordial liquid ether is absorbed without any impurities, it is possible to further perfect the bloodline. It is also possible to exceed the tolerance value of the recipient, causing the consciousness to be controlled by ether. Sally stared at the syringe in front of her, and tentacles flashed across her eyes. Be it the antelope type or the curse characteristics, they are very compatible with me. Nicholas must have considered this point, which was why he made such a high-risk decision. Once the bloodline enters my body, it might not only strengthen my character in the game, but I might also be able to learn something from it at the end of Destiny's journey. Sally hesitated no more. According to the best method given by the staff, the syringe was inserted into the heart. As the black substance entered Sally's body, a terrifying change began to take place in her body. The skin was festering, the spores under the skin and the black gangrene filled the room. If any of the workers entered the room at this moment, even if they had a mechanical body, they would be quickly corroded and killed. Bloodline compatibility -100%. About 2 hours later, the sound of sheep hooves came from the staircase of the Ladybug store. A woman with a perfect figure and appearance wrapped in leather clothes, with a pair of slender and slightly curved black sheep horns on her forehead. Such a beautiful scene immediately attracted the attention of about 90% of the people in the main hall. While being attracted by Sally's beauty, everyone also noticed the black box on her back. The surface was branded with a perfect sheep's head. Of course, limited by the rules of comms and the powerful aura emitted from Sally, most of the killers could only feast their eyes and did not dare to do anything. But there were still a few who had evil intentions. Such a beautiful woman with a freshly made suit. Do you want to take a risk? With your ability, as long as you can get close to her, you will be able to induce her thoughts. It will take at most 3 days, and this woman will become our teammate. Follow her and find a chance to act. In the dark, 2 strange men were quietly approaching. One of them had the body of a chameleon. He deliberately stuck his body to his partner's back, achieving collective camouflage. Even his aura was completely integrated with the environment. When Sally was waiting for the train in front of the platform, danger was approaching step by step. The 2 completely disguised people had already arrived behind Sally. Next, the captain known as the hypnotist would personally do it. He only needed to place his palm on the back of Sally's head, and he could quietly implant the hypnosis seed. Once the seed was planted, one only needed to hint to Sally through objects and sounds on different occasions, and the hypnosis seed would slowly grow. Finally, it would achieve the effect of complete hypnosis. Because there was no need to kill during the whole process, and it would not accumulate any killing points, it was not the first time they did this. However, at the moment when this person placed his palm on the back of Sally's head, without any warning or pain, the entire arm directly lost feeling. In just a second, the gangrene spread from the arm to the rest of the body. The train entered the station. When Sally stepped on the train with an elegant gait, no one dared to follow. Because behind her, there were 2 lumps of rotten flesh that were constantly flowing with thick water. 2 extremely painful and dying faces could be vaguely recognized. The residence did not change. Sally walked briskly. When she thought of meeting Han Dong, her face was brimming with a pure and sincere smile. "Nicholas, I'm back." She pushed open the door and shouted his name, but there was no response. However, Sally had already smelled the familiar scent of the space. Han Dong was in the room, and Glenn was also there. With a curious mind, she followed the scent to the door of the master bedroom. When she gently pushed open the half-closed wooden door, Sally was stunned. The scene reflected in her eyes would be forever stored in her memory, and she would not forget it even in the next life. On the bed, the two, in an indescribable posture, hugged together. Han Dong's limbs were inserted into the holes on Glenn's body at different angles, and they were also trembling irregularly. Sally stood at the door, unable to speak because of the stimulation. The black box on her back also slipped to the ground. Clang! Glenn, who had closed his eyes tightly, slowly opened them because of the noise. He looked at the door with an impatient face. "Sally, are you back? I have something to do with Nicholas. Don't disturb us." Sally plucked up the courage to ask, "What are you doing? What else can we do? Nicholas's body was seriously injured by me, and I'm helping him repair his limbs. I don't want to waste time on healing. Don't disturb my concentration. Get out of here." Sally could only leave silently after being yelled at like this, and she closed the door on her way out. Sitting alone on the sofa, her mind was still unable to break free from the scene just now. Chapter 1569. City Ring Train. There were 2 men and 1 woman sitting in a row. Although there were still empty seats, no one dared to sit. Firstly, it was because of the gold-rimmed badges on their chests that represented the inner-city investigation team. Second, they were emitting an unsettling aura. Black Goat Sally, who was used to sticking close to Han Dong, deliberately kept a certain distance, sitting on the edge of the row, one hand holding the vertical pole, the whole time silent. Even the vertical pole that she was holding had started to show signs of black rust. Green sat in the middle. Because he didn't have much rest, he was sleeping with his arms spread out. A strange snoring sound that exceeded the frequency of musical notes was coming out from his body, and it was because of this that there was basically no one in the carriage. As for the external injuries, Han Dong, who had enough sleep, was adjusting the blood in his body, making sure that the Holy Sword attribute was fully activated. No problem, the Holy Sword attribute is fully awakened. The next time we meet those guys from Takamagara, let me suppress Higashino. When he slowly opened his eyes, Han Dong noticed that Sally was far away from him, and her expression was a bit strange. "Sally, are you not used to bloodline?" "No, it's a perfect match with my body. There's no rejection." "Oh, that's good." Seeing that Han Dong didn't have any intention to continue, Sally could only ask, "Nicholas, do you not like the opposite sex?" Why do you suddenly ask this question? I feel that you're a strange person. Before we met, you and Miss Mary seem to have been partners for a long time. I've asked her about it in private, although you two have been in close contact, but you don't seem to be interested at all. Well, it may be related to my nature. I came to S01 in the form of Cell. Moreover, before achieving some goals, I won't spend too much time on emotional issues. We're at a critical juncture. Not only our world, but tens of millions of multidimensional worlds are at this juncture. The current seemingly stable state can be broken at any time. If I don't hurry, when an unpredictable disaster suddenly comes, I won't be able to control my own fate. What's a juncture? Disaster? Are you talking about the invasion of the Destiny world? Like the world cataclysm caused by humans in the past? I don't know what a node is right now. As for the upcoming cataclysm, it might not be as simple as an invasion of our world. It would definitely be more dangerous and uncontrollable than the previous cataclysm. In short, I have to do whatever it takes to quickly realize mythical structure. Oh, however, it's best not to be in too much of a hurry when it comes to constructing myths. The quality of each puzzle piece is rather important. Sally slowly let go of her right arm that was hugging the pole and moved her body towards Han Dong. The bloodline and equipment are very suitable. The next time we explore, we will definitely reach the deepest part of Limitless City. I will get my all. Don't worry. Let's go to the main hall to see if there are any suitable tasks. We also need to let Green obtain a suitable bloodline so that we can guarantee the final success rate. Also, we have to wait for Hope and Kit. They are indispensable. Main hall. Due to the high status of the inner city investigation team, the team was led to a mission room that was specially used for inquiry and selection of missions. They were given priority in quickly selecting and accepting missions. The desktop device that was connected to the intranet allowed them to quickly search for missions through keywords. However, before Han Dong began to search for missions, he first asked the staff here, "Excuse me, can you help us check on 2 killers that may have appeared in Kalmus?" "Sir, this is very difficult for me. Kalmus strictly forbids the disclosure of any residence information. However, if you agree, I can act as an intermediary to pass on the information. Once they come to the main hall to accept the mission, they will receive a letter with your name and address. Then I'll have to trouble you. Once an assassin named Hope or Kit comes here, pass on our information to them." "No problem." After explaining this matter, Han Dong immediately opened the mission finder. He entered the keyword, bloodline. 23 missions that met the requirements popped up, and the rewards were all related to bloodlines. However, the bloodlines of these missions were uneven. Most of them were B grade and below. He continued to filter the bloodline level, and the missions that require the mission reward to be A grade or above. There were only 3 missions that met the requirements. The first one was to go to the inner city to kill a special subhuman called the Prince. This giant had an extremely bad nature, and he specifically hunted exploration teams in the inner city. He had already caused the annihilation of at least 3 inner city investigation teams. Only a few survived and provided some information about him. Killing the Prince would give an A-grade bloodline reward. The second was to go to an unexplored dangerous area in the inner city, complete the exploration, and draw the relevant map. Map completion greater than 90% would give an A-grade bloodline reward. Compared to the previous 2, this mission was very special and didn't require leaving the city. Han Dong's attention was immediately attracted by the mission introduction. The City Lord's Trial Asterisk. Restriction. Only teams that have been received by the City Lord can accept this mission. There's only one chance. Difficulty. Based on the trial level, the highest level can be reached is full stars. Requirements. The team or individual must submit a trial application to the City Lord. Once the application is approved, the team cannot give up the mission. They must immediately go to the City Lord's room to undergo the relevant trial. The final reward will be based on the number of trial levels reached. Reward. If the level is less than or equal to 3, there will be no reward and the team's evaluation will be lowered. If the level is less than or equal to 6, you will receive a B-grade bloodline reward and 200 Ladybug points. If the level is less than or equal to 9, you will receive an A-grade bloodline reward and 400 Ladybug points. If the level is equals 10, you will receive an S-grade bloodline reward and 1,000 Ladybug points. You will be awarded a diamond badge. The trial is expected to be completed within 6 hours. Han Dong hadn't made a decision yet, but Green's finger had already fallen on this mission. "I'll choose this one. I'll go alone." Okay, this was the best choice. There was no need to leave the city, and it would take less time, getting the team's bloodline in one breath. The next time they left the city, they could directly go to the core area. Staring at Green, who was being taken away by the staff, Han Dong wasn't worried at all. Count's previous practice had been verified in detail. Even if Green's consciousness was transferred to another body, and then through the world's rules to carry out multiple suppression and throw him into the game. In terms of level, he was still on the invincible line. Just as Han Dong was about to ask Sally to go to the trading area for a stroll, the staff suddenly came to find him. "The letter you handed in has been delivered. The 2 killers who just arrived are heading to your place." "Great. Hope and Kit are finally here." Chapter 1570. Those two shouldn't be Hope and Kit, right? Their attire and even their aura have changed a lot compared to usual. Looks like they've completely integrated into the game. Worrying is unnecessary. When Han Dong and Sally rushed back to the residential building, they found two people, one tall and one short, asking for information downstairs. Hominoid Hope's exaggerated figure could be recognized at a glance. Hope had changed his usual shirtless habit and put on clothes in the game. He wore metal armor similar to that of the Knights of the Holy City, but the style was more ancient, leaning toward the heavy armor of the Knights of the Middle Ages. Even the floor tiles where Hope was standing had faint ripples spreading out in all directions due to his presence, as if they had gravitational characteristics. Such attire looked incomparably heavy just by looking at it with the naked eye. Very few people could wear such heavy armor. Moreover, he was carrying an all-metal hammer that was longer than his body length on his back. Even in the game, Hope's height was 5 meters, and the hammer on his back was still taller than his head. Even so, Hope didn't feel any restriction from the weight in his movements. What others saw as heavy was nothing to him. Kit wasn't short, but next to Hope, he seemed extra short, with a black cloak covering his whole body. What should have been a chaotic and unstable state seemed very normal at the moment, so much so that no aura or potential danger could be sensed. At the same time, Han Dong vaguely caught a glimpse of something strange hanging from Kit's waist, even exuding a dangerous aura unique to that item. Hope, Kit, Nicholas, Miss Sally. Boss Green hasn't arrived yet? Hope looked around at the first moment, already smelling Green's scent from Han Dong's body. Green is completing a solo mission that will take about 6 hours. You guys look pretty good. I thought you guys wouldn't be used to participating in a fate event for the first time. Kit, where did you get this book? As he got closer, Han Dong saw clearly that the thing hanging from Kit's waist was an extremely evil magic book. The cover was sewn with human skin and fixed arrangement of skeleton fingers, each finger moving without any frequency and making the sound of joints. Not only was the book alive, but it also seemed to have its own consciousness. In terms of quality, it seemed to be comparable to Grimm's Box of Resentment. Under the cloak, Kit's appearance was the same as in the outside world, similar to that of a ghoul, his smooth skin covered with stitches. He held the book in one hand and tried his best to squeeze out a smile as he answered Han Dong's question seriously. This is the prize we won from a special event called Night of Terror. We won the final victory. The book contained the souls of hundreds of ancient warlocks. According to the requirements, it had to be handed over to the church at the end of the event to be baptized by the holy light and cleansed of its soul before it could be used. However, I felt that it wasn't necessary, so I used it directly. The ancient warlocks sealed in the book have completely degenerated into heretics who serve me. They will take the initiative to cater to my consciousness and make this book very useful. This answer made Han Dong's eyes light up. Kit, you seem to be very suited for fate. You've grasped its essence from the very beginning. The nature of fate's journey isn't to follow a linear route and stick to the rules to clear the game. This kind of thing often only gets the most conventional rewards, and there will come a day when you won't be able to break through. If you want to break through fate, you have to break the rules and open up a new path. That seems to be the case, but it's really troublesome. Hopper and I actually ran into danger in the special event and almost got into trouble. Every step we take needs to be carefully considered. It's really troublesome. I really want to start a killing spree here and then be hunted down and killed by the so-called ladybug killers. But I promised you beforehand, Nicholas, that I must treat this matter seriously. Han Dong reached out and lightly patted Kid on the shoulder, whispering directly into his brain. Don't worry, real death will come sooner or later. Besides, you're also having a lot of fun in the game, aren't you, Kit? The whispers, mixed with a maddening laughter attribute, made Kit sink into a deep state. The concept of games bring happiness was being forcibly branded into Kit's consciousness. Kit's expression even changed from being distressed, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly, revealing an extremely rare smile. That's right. Is the initial exploration done? Not yet. Kit and I just got here, and we're preparing to explore when we receive your letter." Han Dong dug into his pocket and handed over the map of the outer city that he had obtained from the modified humans during the previous exploration. The limitless city's topography is rather complicated and will change. You'd best move around in the corresponding area on this map. You don't need to follow the initial exploration requirement to explore outside for 12 hours. You only need to kill a giant to turn in the mission in advance. With your strength, you should be able to accomplish it within a few hours. When you return, we can officially form a small team. Go quickly. Okay. When Kit and Hopper boarded the round-the-city train to the main hall, Sally slowly held Han Dong's hand and asked softly, "How did you do it?" Are you talking about Kit?" "That's right. Our batch of origin quality is extremely high, and each one has a unique talent and characteristic. And Kit is recognized as the most troublesome and dangerous, second only to Grimm, and even equal to Grimm in some situations. Whether it's Pope or Aslan, they're unwilling to deal with him under any conditions. Even Eugene, an existence born between the plague and the stench, sees Kit as a different kind. Uncontrollable is Kit's biggest characteristic. The feeling just now was very strange. The feeling Kit gave me just now was completely different, as if he had become controllable in this game. I've never seen or thought of it before. Existence is reason. Kit's essence may be wrong, but his existence is bound to have meaning. This is also the fundamental reason why the old kings wanted to preserve their clan. If he can be properly guided, Kit will become the most terrifying killing machine. 6 hours passed. When Hopper and Kit returned, with 2 giant hearts hanging from their waists and even a single horned giant's head on their backs, they were naturally summoned by the city lord. Coincidentally, Grimm had also just passed the trial. Covered in blood, he and one of the city lord's bald bodyguards walked out of the trial room at the same time. Passing all the trials gave them an S-class bloodline reward, needed to be exchanged at the store, 1,000 Ladybug points, and a diamond badge with more privileges. Everyone was reunited. Before Grimm went to change his bloodline, the small team came to the main hall district's management office and asked to expand the size of the small team to add Hopper and Kit. The team has been merged. Please confirm the name of the small team. As for the name, Han Dong had already decided. The Suicide Squad was officially established. Chapter 1571. The final level of the City Lord's trial required the contestant to directly face one of the bodyguards, the game manager. Fortunately, Glenn had battle experience in the special game. Combined with his equipment and field effects, Glenn was able to persist for 10 minutes and even slightly hurt the opponent, meeting the requirements of the final trial. The most frightening thing was Glenn was not only not seriously injured, but could also immediately explore outside the city. Ladybug Foundation Director's Office. The holographic projection of the information screen showed the name Christopher J. Glenn and the relevant information obtained through the trial. The blonde director Mars also recorded the key information and handed it over to Mr. M, who was in charge of all this. Are all the young hybrid demons produced in the S-01 world monsters? To some extent, this guy is even more terrifying than Nicholas. His potential is like a bottomless abyss, simply immeasurable. No wonder Mr. M is so concerned about this matter. Rumor has it that the Black Tower is trying to implement a compromise plan. Is it true? It's hard to imagine what kind of scene it would be if the rumors were true. I hope the Foundation won't be too affected. Repeatedly watching Glenn's performance in the trial, the more details Director Mars saw, the more clearly he could feel the horror coming from the hybrid demons. Glenn exuded a crazy characteristic. It was the first time he saw it. Day of the Ladybug, City in the Wall. Calmus Glenn was riding the round-the-city train back from the trading area. He had already exchanged from the Ladybug store for an extremely rare S-class bloodline that every assassin dreamed of, which could make an individual undergo a complete qualitative change. When the train stopped in the hall area, an incredible situation occurred. no one dared to get off the train in advance. The whole train was filled with a layer of strange silence. The passengers sitting in the train tried to hold their breath as much as possible, quietly waiting for someone to get off first. Tap, tap, tap. When a skinny, shirtless youth stepped barefoot off the train, the whole thing slowly returned to normal. 2 minutes later, a second person got off in succession. Han Dong and others who were waiting in the lift area also smelled a familiar and powerful aura at the same time, mixed with a strange feeling. Even Sally, who had just received the bloodline, Angelica Gazelle of necrosis, felt her hair stand on end. A strand of wool quickly drilled out from under her skin. Glenn! Han Dong was the first to react and quickly turned his head. When he looked at the platform, the magic eye in between his brows opened as well. When Grimm's figure came into view, the surrounding environment seemed to be filtered out. It was as if Grimm was the only one walking alone in the darkness, and everything was swallowed by his abyss. Its appearance did not change much. His hair was still messy, and his body was skinny and full of holes. However, there were a few more tattoos on the surface of his body. Between the holes all over the body, there were many connecting lines. The holes were filled with a kind of black line. Just as Han Dong was examining these lines out of curiosity, he vaguely saw something terrifying. What is that? As the lines and holes intertwined, the aura of the abyss fluctuated. Behind Grimm, an abyssal life form that was both real and virtual, similar to his substitute, appeared. Gray skin like the walls of the abyss. His torso and limbs were similar to a human's, but his arms were very long, reaching past his knees when he hung down. The strangest part was the head. His entire face had been dug out, leaving behind a bottomless hole. When Han Dong saw this scene, his body was involuntarily drawn to Grimm, as if he was being sucked into his consciousness. If he did not focus, he would not be able to resist. Bam! Their bodies collided head-on, and this freed Han Dong from the strange state. Oh, Nicholas, did you see it? Glenn, what kind of bloodline did you pick? When Han Dong asked this question, Glenn immediately showed a kind of excitement, and even an expression of being completely immersed in the game and enjoying the joy. The number of S-grade bloodlines that the Ladybug shop can supply is very small, and there are only 5 choices. However, they're the bloodline that matches the Abyss physique, but it is different. It gives me a completely different kind of experience, and the pleasure is different from the past. When I return to my body, maybe I can use this feeling to perfect the myth and get closer to the throne. I see. It is indeed a good match. Speaking of which, what is the name of the bloodline? Blood of Apophis. Oh, as for the specific effects, you'll naturally know when we encounter a strong enemy. Thank you, Nicholas. This game is really too interesting. Grimm stuck out a tongue that originated from his body, which was as rough as a rock wall and had no saliva, and gently scratched Han Dong's cheek. This was a way of expressing gratitude used by the Summerbug tribe that lived in the Mad Abyss. This was also the first time Grimm did this to others. We might be able to explore the deepest part of the limitless city in one go. Get ready to go. Although Hope and Kit did not have the bloodline bonus, I think in the process of exploring the inner city, there should be other opportunities, and I will slowly help them when the time comes. All the consumables have been replenished. Let's go. They arrive at the entrance of the limitless city through the elevator. The coordinate stone that was dropped from killing the 100-meter giant was already in Han Dong's hand. Use. Buzz, the light circle released by the coordinate stone shrouded everyone. Chapter 1572. Looking up at the unreachable walls of the labyrinth, it was obviously impossible to climb over them. The energy consumption would probably be more than directly passing through the labyrinth. I didn't expect the inner city to actually be a labyrinth structure, and it's a living labyrinth that's constantly changing. Come to think of it, Aitra's consciousness should be controlling this place. The closer we get to the depths of the labyrinth, the higher the overall rate of change, and the greater the danger. If it were a giant blocking the way, it'd be fine. This kind of labyrinth setting would instead delay us for a long time. Clint, Kit, and I will join forces and see if we can quickly destroy the walls of the labyrinth. The three of them separately used destructive methods. In the instant that the walls were attacked, the nearby vitality surged forth at the same time, to the extent that the regeneration of the walls was faster than the three of them joining forces to destroy them. Of course, if Han Dong and the others all brought out their true abilities, they might be able to suppress the regeneration speed. But this kind of energy-consuming action that could only tear open one wall was completely meaningless to the exploration of the labyrinth as a whole. At present, it looks like we can only follow the labyrinth setting and slowly explore the structure of the labyrinth. Since it's a game setting, there must be corresponding rules or points in the labyrinth that we can refer to. Of course, this process may take a long time. I've rarely encountered labyrinths in Fate before, so my experience isn't very rich. Han Dong walked to the front of the group and was just about to release Count to begin the exploration of the labyrinth. Kit, who was at the back of the group, was like a student who wanted to express his opinion in class but was somewhat embarrassed. He hesitated before slowly raising his hand and expressing his thoughts. That I might have a way to locate the route of the labyrinth. Only, sigh, it's a very troublesome errand. I feel like my head is about to be stuffed full. Just as he finished speaking, a suction force that Kit couldn't resist came into effect, dragging his consciousness and instantly pulling him 3 meters away. Smack! A leaky palm slapped heavily on his shoulder. Kit, if you have a way, then hurry up and say it. I don't want to be trapped in this boring labyrinth. Facing Clint's threat, Kit wasn't the least bit afraid. It would actually be better if he could be killed. Just then, Kit felt the gaze from the front of the group. He took the opportunity to look at Han Dong walking at the front. After a slight sigh, he began to explain his thoughts. I discovered a detail when I was destroying the fence. No matter if it was steel, rocks, plants, or mushrooms, there was some kind of life force in their bodies that rejected me. It should be the Iter liquid that you guys mentioned. Once I came into contact with them, the liquid would quickly flow to other areas. Therefore, the parts that I destroyed would not be regenerated. Instead, they would be filled with plants or reinforced stones that grew nearby. If I can use repulsion to find the main direction of the flow of vitality, this should be the route to advance in the maze. Kit, I'm counting on you. Han Dong's voice followed. Kit scratched his head. Okay, I'll try. I might not succeed. When he was focused on something, his turbid eyes seemed to be able to clearly see the movement of all things. The liquid that flowed between the walls, representing life, was clearly seen by Kit. When Kit slowly placed his palm on it, in the instant of contact, the threads of vitality immediately dispersed in all directions. This won't do. The area of contact between the palms is too small. I can't determine the main direction of flow. Sigh. This is so troublesome. Kit put his hands on his hips and sighed. He directly climbed up the wall of the maze, sticking his entire body to it to increase the contact area. In this way, there would be even more life force liquid that would be rejected at the same time. Got it. Over here, Kit could clearly observe a large amount of life force flowing in front of him. In this way, with Kit climbing on the wall as a guide, the maze exploration officially began. Of course, this method could only determine the main direction of the flow of vitality. During the exploration, there was still the possibility of turning into a dead end. When the path ahead was blocked, since there was no problem with the direction, it was worth spending a certain amount of energy to tear apart the wall, which could greatly save the time spent exploring the maze. This time, let's all go together. As much as possible, concentrate the attack on one point. Just as Han Dong gathered the whole team, Grim was already standing in front of the dead end. Domain release. Even if it was a domain that was copied into the game by the main body, it was the weakest version of the lowest level. The domain effect released by Grim made everyone feel extremely uncomfortable and dangerous, instinctively distancing themselves. Small holes began to appear in the ground around Grim. Some kind of chaotic breath was slowly overflowing from the holes. It's this thing again. Behind Grim, the abyssal life form with its arms hanging over its knees and a large hole in its head appeared again. Grim raised his arms. His hands formed a circle in front of him. From a certain point of view, the large hole in the abyssal life form's face and the circle that Grim's hands had made were exactly the same, when the concept was sublimated to a certain extent. Buzz, accompanied by a ringing sound. A large hole was dug in the maze wall in front of Grim, leading to the passage on the other side. Everyone immediately crossed the opening at the fastest speed. Even though a hole of several meters in diameter had been dug out in an instant, the wall still completely healed in less than 2 seconds. Grim took a deep breath and slowly retracted his domain as he extended his arms. Everyone's gaze toward Grim had changed, especially Kit, who seemed to have found the simplest way to die. However, other than seeing the power within, Han Dong also noticed a detail. Grim's breathing rate had a slight change, and some of the holes on the surface of his body were shrinking in sync with his breathing rate. Sure enough, it's not a trick that can be used easily. Even Grim needs to adapt and practice step by step. However, as long as it's not used continuously, it's not a big problem. Hopefully, Grim can thoroughly familiarize himself with this ability when he reaches the final treasure. Forcing their way through the dead end, they arrived at a 3-way fork in the road. Kit hurriedly climbed up the wall, the direction of his perception located at the front. Just as the team was about to continue forward, Sally suddenly stopped, her gaze looking toward the maze passage on the right. Wait, I seem to feel something. Sally, whose goat hooves were stepping on the ground, could perceive the surrounding situation through vibration due to the blessing of her bloodline. Just now, she vaguely felt some abnormal vibration, as if there were some living creatures. Hearing this, Han Dong immediately released Count to assist his perception. There really seems to be some smell. Are there giants in the maze? It's just that there's a trace of a smell that's different from a maze itself. I'm not too sure what it is. Count did his best to sniff with his nose, trying to capture the smell in the distance. His body involuntarily moved toward the passage on the right. Han Dong also used his demonic eye to stare into the depths of the passage. Suddenly, a beam of silver light pierced the demonic eye. Careful! When Han Dong shouted these words, he was shocked. Everyone immediately dodged. A burst of canine howls spread through the maze. Count's body was pierced from head to tail by an extremely fast, pure silver arrow. Hissing, the pierced body was still smoking, firmly nailed to the maze wall. It wasn't over yet. Another swift and fierce silver arrow shot over. This time, Han Dong didn't dodge. His gaze coldly focused on the front, and he stepped forward. A huge GI opened on his right arm, and his dynamic vision was fully activated. Snap! He accurately grabbed the silver arrow in front of him and directly crushed it. Who's there? Come out! As Han Dong's voice spread through the passage, an ancient Greek-style team slowly appeared from the right passage. Chapter 1573. This team started from the outermost part of the labyrinth, but they had already caught up with Han Dong and the others. It seemed that one of them was very familiar with the labyrinth and could even control such an area and easily determine the correct route. Grim was destroying the structure of the labyrinth. The strong energy waves and tinnitus were clearly felt by this team hundreds of meters away. Their team had also assembled in Kalmus, and there were a total of 5 members. Wilderness Perception. There are also 5 of them, and they have the destructive power to tear apart the labyrinth. Judging from the way they destroyed the wall, they probably only know the general direction of the center of the labyrinth, but not the specific route. Even in the game where levels were suppressed, a woman in the team could still locate and sense the specific situation by touching the ground with her palm. This person was also the team leader. A pure white cloak covered her body, revealing only a pair of jade feet stepping on the labyrinth's floor. The hair that slid out from the hood was the color of grass, and there were even some flowers growing in between the strands of hair. She carried a unique weapon obtained from a special event, a silver longbow with entwined roots and antler structure. Strangely, the woman was not equipped with any quiver or arrows. When the woman gave the results of her detection, a young man with an outstanding appearance and radiant eyes walked up to her. Sister Demi's, the destructive power that I just felt was very strong. Since the number of people is equal, if we fight them head-on, we won't be able to guarantee victory and will delay for a long time, and even let some of the lagging teams catch up. Why don't we take a detour? After all, they only know the general direction of the center, and our speed will definitely be faster. It's because of the strong destructive power that we need to take action here in advance. With Nor in the team, the labyrinth is our home ground. If we drag the battle to the Treasure Snow District, it will be more troublesome to deal with them. This team can explore the center of the labyrinth before us, and at the same time, they have such destructive power. Whether it's strength or intelligence, they are top-notch. If we don't use the advantage of the labyrinth to eliminate them here, they will be a great threat to us in the future. Even if something goes wrong, we can use the labyrinth to leave easily. Get ready for battle. Feynman, Decius, how are you guys? If you want to kill him, you'll need both of your strength. The young man named Feynman was floating in the air the whole time. His feet were 5 centimeters off the ground. Although Feynman had the appearance of a young man, his body was as withered as an old man's. The cloak he wore would also turn into rags in a short period of time. His entire body was emitting a very strange aura of death that seemed to only affect him. Decius, on the other hand, was the complete opposite. His Spartan attire and bronze muscles made him look like a perfect sculpture. On its back were the spears and round shields commonly used by the Spartans. However, there were 3 spears placed between the round shields. His entire body was exuding a red murderous aura that he had obtained through slaughter and war. Feynman didn't say anything. He just stared at the front quietly. Decius rotated his neck and began to warm up. The red murderous aura that originally enveloped his entire body condensed at his wrist, forming a cross mark that resembled a chop. Overall, he appeared to be in a state of excitement on the eve of a battle. My condition is excellent. This is the best time to kill. Demis, do you want to go first, or let me do it? Let me start the prelude. Bo, I need a pure silver light arrow. Okay, Sister Demis. The young man known as Bo was Captain Demis's younger brother. Unlike his sister who liked hunting and fighting, Bo was more interested in music and all kinds of arts. The suggestion of avoiding battle was proposed by him. Bo wore a light Greek-style robe and carried a 7-string lyre that was tailor-made for him in Calmus. At the same time, his outstanding handsome face also had a pair of brilliant eyes. As he stared at his sister's bowstring with his eyes, a physical arrow made of silver light instantly formed. Buzz! It was a beautiful and flawless shooting posture. The moment the light arrow condensed, it was shot out. The cooperation between the sister and brother was already very practiced. The arrow that was as fast as light shot straight at the opponent hit. However, Demis frowned. It seemed that it didn't achieve the desired effect. Bo, give me another arrow. I accidentally shot a dog, just now. The strong smell of blood made me mistake this dog for one of the enemy's members. Okay, the second arrow was shot out. But this time, Demis's expression changed greatly. Sister, what's wrong? The arrow's trajectory was accurately captured by one of the enemy's members, and he caught it with his bare hands. My decision was right. Such a strong team must be dealt with here. Even if we can't completely defeat them, we must reduce their number in advance. No matter the cost, we can just return to Calmus to rest for a while. Someone can actually catch your arrow. However, it should have something to do with the advance warning and the flying distance. If it's close, they won't be able to block it. Looks like I have to be serious. Bo hugged the 7-string lyre behind him and followed his sister's footsteps to approach the enemy team. The view changed. Han Dong stared at the arrow that was crushed in his hand. It was clearly a physical object, but it gradually dissipated like a photon, an arrow condensed by light. Its speed is unbelievably fast, and it has a great restraining effect on evil beings. It's very strong. He waved his hand. Count, who was nailed to the wall, turned into drops of blood and returned to his body. It hurt so much. The arrow just pierced through my entire body. If it wasn't for the support of the Gore Fiend attribute, I would have been killed in one shot. Count was supposed to kill this group of people. How dare they launch a sneak attack? Stay put for now. I'll ask for your help when necessary. The team that came this time may be stronger than Shinzo's team. In his field of vision, the team dressed in ancient Greek clothing gradually came into view. Han Dong also came to Grimm's side at the first moment, restraining Grimm's dangerous action of rushing forward. 4 of them, one less than us? Or is there someone else hiding in the dark, waiting for an opportunity to strike? If they really have fewer people, but they took the initiative to attack us, this is too bold. Is it because they have some kind of advantage in their hands? Grimm, don't be in a hurry. Pick your target. I'll go talk to them. Grimm looked at the team that came from an unknown world with interest. The abyss seemed to have captured some new aura. Go ahead. This group of people is interesting. Their way of growth and ability acquisition is different from ours. I'm afraid it will take some time to kill them all. Chapter 1574. Han Dong was naturally displeased that the opponent started the fight by shooting at them. However, there were a few things between them. Han Dong tried his best to suppress the anger in his heart and pretended to have a normal expression. He stepped forward and tried to communicate with the opponent. Of course, if the opponent didn't want to communicate, Han Dong didn't mind killing them directly. Since you can lock onto our position from afar, why did you show up? Seeing Han Dong step forward, the captain took the initiative to step forward. Demis, who was holding a longbow, also took the initiative to step forward. She seemed to want to have a conversation between the captains. At the same time, Demi's younger brother, Bo, was carefully observing every member of the enemy team with the eye of light and conveying information to his teammates. This was one of the reasons why the whole team showed up and approached them. In Demis's understanding, as long as they were close enough, her brother's eyes could pry into the enemy's personal information and establish more advantages before the battle. I'm the only one who can kill the enemy from a distance. Since you can catch my arrow with your bare hands, there's no point in keeping a distance. While Demis was answering, Bo had already obtained some information. They can communicate with each other in their consciousness through some kind of divine sense channel. Sister, other than the young man you're talking to, he's similar to a human. This is the first time I've seen the characteristics of the other 4. It seems like something is wriggling in their bodies. The strange thing is, no matter which one of them it is, as long as I stare at them for a long time, it puts a great burden on my eyes. It feels like something is corroding my consciousness in reverse. Can you determine their background world? I've compared several sub-super worlds, or super worlds that are mainly evil. Their characteristics don't seem to match. On the other hand, the dog that you shot earlier seems to be related to Dawn of Terror. The blood remaining on the wall is similar to the blood oath over there. Are they the direct descendants of the evil god in Dawn of Terror? If that's the case, the following battle will be a little troublesome. Bo, do you have any more detailed information? I'm still looking. The young man with holes all over his body is like a huge hole. I don't dare to look too deep. The other was a young man with a huge physique and was clad in armor. Every single muscle in his body was wriggling. Due to interference, I was unable to determine the exact density of his muscles. The young man who was covered in a cloak and had stitches on his skin. It was very strange. His insides were like a pile of mud, which seemed to be casually stuffed with skin. Whenever I tried to look inside, my eyes stung. As for the only female in the team, she seems to be in control of some kind of terrible curse. There are scary black spores under her skin, and I can't see through her aura. Is that all you can tell? Demis felt very strange. Bo's eye of light could be considered as the most valuable treasure of the party. The existence of the Eye of Light greatly increased the speed of Fate's exploration, allowing them to obtain all the information of the enemy before the battle. Currently, he had obtained the least amount of information. Demis continued asking, "Also, what about the person in front of me? Didn't you say that he's biased towards humans? Can you get all the information? If possible, we can use this person to cut in and try to kill him in one blow." Immediately, then, Bo moved the Eye of Light to the young man who was talking to his sister. Suddenly, the young man seemed to know that he was spying on him and turned his head at the same time. Eye contact. He stared at the young man with the demonic eye in between his eyebrows. He fully activated the characteristics of his tentacles, and gray shadows appeared in his pupils, weaving into various strange shapes in his eyeballs. The Eye of Light could see through the essence of things, but sometimes having a good visual ability was not a good thing. This sudden eye contact allowed Bo's spirit to surpass the realm of light and darkness in an instant, roaming in the uncontrollable void. Under the guidance of a strange force, he arrived at a black room hidden in the depths of the universe. The door opened. Blasphemous images that were beyond comprehension flooded into his eyes like a swarm of ants, tearing at his eyeballs, chewing on his optic nerves, and occupying his entire brain. A scream echoed in the labyrinth. The light dimmed. Bo appeared to be in extreme pain. He covered his eyes and struggled in pain. Streams of murky liquid kept flowing out from his eyes. Han Dong suppressed the urge to laugh as he stared at the other party's miserable state. "Hey, have you seen enough? Don't think that I don't know why you guys purposely pulled the team closer. Consider this your reward for injuring Count." Ha ha ha. His younger brother was injured. Plus, Han Dong's mocking laughter. The fuse that was slowly burning burned out in an instant. "Norn, kill these guys." When Demi shouted this sentence, the labyrinth instantly underwent a strange change. Spatial ability. Han Dong seemed to have sensed something. When Han Dong reacted, the team that was originally in a tight formation became extremely loose, and they were at least 5 meters away from each other. At the same time, a Greek warrior with bull horns and a huge physique rushed out from the blind spot. Steam was boiling from his nostrils, and while he was charging, his whole body was wrapped in a layer of golden combat aura. He was extremely fast, and the target of his charge was Han Dong. Just as he was about to succeed, swoosh, a strong and tall figure instantly appeared and blocked Han Dong's back. Bam! He held the bull horns firmly with both hands. At the cost of sliding back half a meter, he forcefully stopped the charge with brute force. What? Not only were his teammates shocked, but Nord himself was even more shocked. He had the Maze Mastery trait, and he had been secretly observing the members of the enemy team. He noticed a strong young man with a similar physique to himself and paid special attention to him. When he received the battle order from his captain, he deliberately chose Han Dong, who was thin and small and close to his team. As long as he sent him flying and caused some damage, he would be able to join forces with his teammates to finish him off. Unexpectedly, the strong young man, who was originally 10 meters away, was able to instantly block the path of the charge. When Norn looked at the spot where the strong young man had been standing, he found 2 deep footprints on the ground and a crack that was several meters long. It was a mark of damage caused by the explosion of muscles. He can reach this level of strength with just his body. With his bull horns grabbed, he was unable to move. It was as if there was a mountain of muscles in front of him. Do I need God's descent at the beginning of the battle? Ancient Greek words began to appear on Norn's bull horns. The golden combat energy that wrapped around his body slowly turned into a mythical life form, the Minotaur. At this moment, Captain Demis's voice was transmitted into his mind through his divine sense. Norn, use all your strength to change the maze and completely separate these guys. Bo's condition is quite bad. It's not suitable for battle now. Okay, when the virtual image of the Minotaur was formed, its power increased exponentially. The roar of a bull resounded in the maze area. Norn forcefully broke free from the restraints and at the same time caused the maze to undergo a complex transformation. When Han Dong and the others wanted to pursue, the walls of the maze blocked them. Moreover, the teams were forced to separate. There's someone in this team who has the maze ability. What kind of luck is this? Han Dong's doubts were not wrong. Before they entered this place, the lucky dice they got was 5. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.